Get 'em, Jimmy, where low shack at? The bottle's getting nippy up the crack and we stacking chips. All of it's what I want, plus money winners, that's what I'm on. You can say I'm gone, I prefer elevated pub sports radio. Time to get educated, get produced, leave the juice, letting loose with so much abuse that the bookies wanna call a truce. They getting slaughtered, can't forget Jeff and Lobaggers in the chat. That's a lethal weapon, 'cause we be pubbing.
What up, cappers, gamblers, punters, hustlers, Lobaggers? Happy Wednesday, February 8th to all of you. Thank you for watching Betting with the Bag right here on Pub Sports Radio. Just a roller coaster ride last night. Probably had a little too much action. Started out well, ended up middling. And it was all going on while we had our Super Bowl show, and it was really tough to not follow the action, which I did pretty well. Up until the very end of the show, Dan let us know that his mix combo sort of a look between Sammy Comer and Dan Kelly with the Nuggets first quarter and the Timberwolves first half team total under had cash, which gave me the winning night in NBA, which I needed. And but at that point, I started looking at a few scores, but I kept it pretty together. NHL was nice. Lightning first period -0.5 cashed comfortably, and they didn't win the game. Now I want the people who backed the Lightning to not to have got hurt there, but from our standpoint, it was well done. Oilers -1, like I said, they're going to win a lot of games here down the stretch, and we'll probably find the most value on them on the road. They've been an excellent road team, and they're too big of a favorite at home. So it was very easy casher. Predators lost. I guess I deserved that, for my hatred towards Vegas. You becoming emotional instead of capping with a level head. I don't. The Predators are a bad hockey team. I don't know why I trust them, but I just. And you know what? The mistake from a capping perspective was this was a team in the dumps, losing, and then they get the All-Star break. Get that loss off, get the losing feeling away from them, and feel better about themselves. Come back to the rink and not be all angry. And it was a mistake. Ducks first period. It's too bad I didn't just go full game. First period pushed, so we went plus 1.1 units in NHL. Then in NBA, as I said, it was thanks. We talk about it. We talk about it like we cap these games together, and listening is so crucial to our success. And the way Sammy Comer and Dan Kelly sort of saw that Nuggets Wolves game was just really nice. A really easy way to put money in our pocket. I lost the Magic. I thought it was a good spot, but lost them at even money. It became plus 110. Should have known. Hawks first quarter cash. Hawks first half didn't, and Hawks full game didn't. I didn't have them full game, but that was I'm pretty fortunate actually, to come out even there, and I was even because the Hawks first half was money line and no vig. Then Nuggets first quarter -3 and T-Wolves first half team total 57.5 cash. So up 1 unit there. And then college basketball, I just had too much action. I thought we were seeing things clearly, and after the first half of Cincinnati Tulane, I thought I was going to have a big day. There were some little mistakes that kept me from a profitable day. Rutgers, Indiana should have just been a full game under. I don't know why I was getting cute with the first half, but it opened up terribly because I was way off on Wake Forest. So I'm 0 for 4 at that point. But then Virginia first half cash, Michigan State first half cash, Maryland, Michigan State under cashed, and Kansas State cashed. And then Kentucky was a bad look. And then I needed New Mexico at the end of the night. After all it's just too much action. So it was a middling night, but I love action. I think that was a little too much action. Great to see all of you guys. Thank you so much for joining us here. We got a huge show. LJ from H-Town will be here this Wednesday and next Wednesday. Nice to have him rolling with us more often. A great capper and great friend of the show. And then Daby Cab joining us for 10 showcase games in college basketball. My guy in the house, there is Sammy Culmer. Pacers +7, -108 for Sammy Culmer. We'll just with our guy LJ from H-Town. Let me grab the have that ready to discuss here. Pacers, Heat. Let's copy and paste that right there. Viper NB and Viper saying LeBron easy money on the points prop. He had all his family and friends there. Dead giveaway. He was going to get it. It became a dead giveaway. And it's funny. I talked about that spot with Sonny, for 30 minutes. And I was just trying to not bet it. I was trying so hard to not bet. And I thought that the under initially was in play. And then I thought that, and I can't quote him. I really, I had 3 shows yesterday, and then we had to prepare for today's show after the Super Bowl show, and I'm lacking sleep. So I can't quote him properly. But Dennis Garcia's comment on, our storyline that we were creating, we were sort of putting on LeBron that he would break it against the Bucks. I mean, who are we really to give that script? And Dennis was a part of the reason why I didn't make the bet, and I'm really thankful I didn't. I did watch the game though; it was a fun game to watch. Gary Tenebra says gamble at the South Point for 2 weeks. Love that, Gary. Dan Kelly, fourth quarter Spurs Raptors over 55.5. Said FanDuel says shop there. Mostly 56.5s out there. Also, if the first half is low scoring, he will be betting the second half over at halftime. From our Dan Kelly right there. I'm going to copy and paste that for Raptors Spurs. That pops off at 7:30 tonight. Thank you for sharing that with us. There is Nut Flush Allen, his daughter Skylar. Received an award given out to one student, just one student at her school. What an incredible young woman you have there, Nutflush. I can't wait to watch her succeed in life. She leads by example. She's mature beyond her age, and straight A student. You've done a great job. You and Kristen have done a great job with Skylar. Congratulations, Skylar, on your achievement and your award. North Ender in the house. Thieves by Law Coin Series Business Nunya. Jay Peasy ready to get to work. Says the saga continues. Sounds like a little J. Rue the Damager right there. Sun rises in the east. J. Rue the Damager. Don Play, Markel Lee Davis has got to get it. They had some rough bounces last night. Nevada hitting that was tough. The game winner was tough. Oh, you had them all. Yeah. I didn't. That was another spot where I was because I was watching the Lakers game and I was following the game here. Now I needed, New Mexico -4, but it was over and New Mexico at one point win. And then you look back 2 minutes later and, oh no, there was a basket with 0 seconds left. I hate that shit. Ryan Mueller ready to go. Jake Anyweight Paul says brother Makachev going to smash this guy Volkanovski, dominate him, submit him. From Jake Anyweight Paul saying Makachev. That's our big UFC show this Saturday. Great group. Lucas R, Jason Turgi. Alfred says Magic screwed a +74 and +564 parlay. Damn, that was my fault. I believed in it. And North Ender says I had cut my action down a bit and it's paying huge dividends. Yeah, it worked so well for me in college basketball. I guess I can't really explain. I guess I just got overly confident. I've got to tail it back in college basketball here. Markel, the Super Bowl show was last night. So it's up on our YouTube page right now. It's Tuesday night, NFL pop-up. There's a Foulish Hound ready to get to work. Who's ready to party? Pub-up Palooza. Can't wait to hang out with a Foulish Hound. Going to be there, man. It's going to be so much fun. We're very, 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 very excited. I'm that Heat ready to get to work. Great to see all of you guys. Let's roll into NHL. We've had a couple bad runs in NHL right off the top of the season. Then we bounced back, got into positive units. And then right at the beginning of 2023, just had a terrible start to the year. We've almost got that back as well. So right now in NHL, 66 and 69, but an average line of plus 104 brings us down 2.85 units. ROI minus 2.11%. And the black is in sight, and then I want to keep climbing. So, and I expect us to do just that. Unfortunately, I think that we're going to be having to, get that cash really on tomorrow's giant card with Mr. Gokster. This is not, Eric Beelan, let me answer that question for you. But this is not a card that anything really jumped out at me at this point. So we'll talk out these two games. Eric Beelan says, I need to understand or find out how to place a -1 wager in NHL and MLB. Help. Yes, Eric, no problem. And that's why we are here. Here is your -1 calculator. Very, very important. The books don't offer it. Most books don't offer it because it's a very helpful wager. So here you go. There's your run line calculator, Eric, and anybody who wants it in the chat. Very important in NHL and extremely important in Major League Baseball. Dan Kelly says, speaking of kids, how's Carter feeling? Oh, we're back in business. And Carter turns 2 years old tomorrow. We are back in business, and he's doing well. So let's get to work here. We start at 8 p.m. Eastern. My hometown, Vancouver Canuckleheads. Just a disgrace on the frozen pond. 26 and 4, 10-13 and 3 on the road. The New York Rangers 28-14-8, 14-9 and 4 at home. Madison Square Garden in New York. Would have loved to have seen what this team would be like with a healthy Thatcher Demko in net. But I mean, Oliver Ekman-Larsson is just an atrocity. -18, I believe. I don't have it in front of me, but he's just horrifically bad. Spencer Martin is just as bad. Definitely at this point, the worst starting goaltender in the NHL. 11-13 and 1, 3.94 goals against, average 875 save percentage, going up against maybe the best, Igor Shesterkin, 21-8 and 7, 2.45 goals against, average 918 save percentage, 1 shutout. There's Aloha Isai Rolla. Man, it's been years. Aloha Isai Rolla was back when I started out, man. Respect. Aloha Isai Rolla in the house. I love it. All right. So Remo says, give us a good old Canucks rant. We have some time today. Oh, fuck. Okay, so we're not using the last 10 days of statistics right now in NHL. We're going back to the full season. We'll change that here in a little bit. Canucks 22.7% power play, 65.8% penalty killing. Rangers 21.8% power play, 81% penalty killing. The Rangers are big favorites. The Canucks are sort of a sneaky dog, not against the Rangers team that's really put it all together. As soon as Dennis Garcia said that they were a pick 'em to not make the playoffs, they've just started rolling, and they're a good hockey team. And it's not going to be easy. You're going to have to take out the Devils in the first round. How much fun is that series going to be? Go back to the Scott Stevens, Mark Messier era. Remember, the Rangers had to win in 7 games, then to beat the Canucks in 7 games in 1993. So that'll be a fun series. And then the Rangers are going to have to beat, who we expect to be the Carolina Hurricanes. Then to get into the conference final, to beat who we expect to be the Boston Bruins. Could be the Tampa Bay Lightning. I doubt it. So that's very difficult. Are the Rangers good enough to beat the Devils, Hurricanes, and Bruins? No. I don't. I mean, obviously, it's a very, very, very difficult task at hand for them. Rangers open up -234. Pinnacle, they're now -233. Totals wise, it's opened up at 6.5 as a pick 'em. There's been a 4-cent move to the over. Razor sharp picks in the house. Great to see you running hot. I love it. Nutflush Allen says, Razor, let's do Vegas. Yes, Nutflush Allen going to be in Vegas this weekend. Super Bowl weekend. The Big Ragu going to be there. Let's discuss the spot here. So there's been a slight move to the over and no move to the Rangers. But they opened it up as a big favorite, which is where they should be. Canucks opened up the post-All-Star break with a 5-4 overtime loss in New Jersey on Monday night. Vancouver was outshot 34-30, lost the faceoff battle 34-26. There's going to be quite a lot of that, without Horvat in the lineup. And Pedersen talks about it all the time. He's got toddler shoulders. He doesn't talk about having the shoulders, of a infant. But he does talk about not being able to win faceoffs, which does require some upper body strength, Pedersen. We just saw you take a 103.4-mile-an-hour shot. Wonder why your shoulders are the same shoulders as my daughter Ella's classmates. The team is bad. There's so many problems when you look at the Canucks. What are the problems with Canucks? Obviously, it's the worst defense I've ever seen in my whole life of watching hockey. You have Dahlia backing up Spencer Martin. I mean, I can't even imagine two worse goaltenders in an NHL team before. I hope that this is the last season they play in the NHL, and I hope they don't play in the AHL either. I hope they go down to the fucking ECHL, East Coast Hockey League, and never be talked about again. Just a fucking terrible, terrible net minding. Our 2019 first round pick, 10th overall, Vasily Podkolzin, has taken a step back. He's 3 assists in 17 games this year. Matthew Boldy was picked 2 spots after. Cole Caulfield was drafted 5 spots after Podkolzin. Our second round pick, Nils Höglander, whom we thought was going to be a real sniper. I mean, he's scoring a point a game, but it's in Abbotsford where he belongs. Brock Besser continues to regress. Connor Garland and Brock Besser are so bad that Anthony Beauvillier comes to the Canucks, and he's our first line winger. I like Dakota Joshua. You know, I like him. Ex-Leaf, 6'3", 210 pounds, gives the team some truculence, you know, which they need so badly. And he's a top 6 forward for the Canucks, which is just whatever happened to having a tough line that, you know, that you put out that puts fear into the opponents. Why do you have to put him on top 6 forwards? Because of the other forwards on the Canucks are such. Have we passed 8 minutes? I can't swear unless we passed 8 minutes. Just actually, no, I don't need to swear right now. But I'm thinking horrible thoughts about how soft this Canucks team is. Now, with Rick Tocchet behind the bench, you know, having a tough coach, we did out-hit the Devils 33-15, which is a sign that they're trying at least. And don't forget that Dakota Joshua was a Toronto Maple Leaf, another spot where Kyle Dubas, the child general manager, the little boy general manager of the Leafs, shows again no respect for toughness whatsoever. Gave away Mason Marchment, gave away Dakota Joshua. He's this little fanboy managing the Leafs has no respect for toughness. And what happens to the Leafs in the playoffs? They get knocked out in the first round because they don't have any size to help them in those tough matchups. Rangers opened up their post-All-Star break schedule with a 5-4 overtime victory at home over Calgary on Monday night. They're a healthy group. They're as healthy as they've been all year. Chris Kreider has had a much quieter year this year, 52 goals last season. You know, what's he got, 20? I believe he's got 20 so far this year. But this is a strong club. Zibanejad's been on a nice run. Adam Fox having another Norris-type season with 10 goals, 39 assists, 49 points, 50 games, plus 25. Thank you, Dan. It's past 16 minutes. I don't know what to do with this game. We saw the vulnerability of a home favorite with the Lightning last night. So what's the point of paying a lot of juice on the Rangers on a -1 line? I don't think there is. I mean, obviously, we expect the Rangers to win. So then I guess you could go to if I was thinking like, what would Nutflush do in a situation like this? Would he focus on the Rangers team total? Probably. Let's just take a look at what that would be here. The team total for the Rangers. The Rangers over 3.5 -145. So, you take him at a 4. So then you need, a plus money. Then you need 5 goals to cash. Von Polo, happy birthday. Our guy, Von Polo. Happy birthday. Coming out of Charm City. Von Polo, respect, man. Sadly, this is only coffee. I can't toast you booze right now. But Von Polo, man, we love you. Happy birthday, my guy. Enjoy the day. And can't wait till I get to roll through Baltimore again. I love that city. And but we do, and I know we're doing San Antonio. And we're going to do San Antonio every year. But we promise we are going to do an Atlantic City trip where we're all together. So happy birthday to Von Polo. Drinking Hennessy all day and smoking big butts. I love it, man. Wants a birthday pick. Absolutely. We'll give you the best pick of the day. We'll give one from each of us, from myself, from Daby Cab, and from LJ. So I'll pop that here so I remember it. TNT has both teams to score. I get it. And there's our Google Docs for signing up for all the Pubapalooza events. DJ Big Boss, talking to him yesterday. He's working on getting a group together to come out. And as I said, Ragu's already locked in. So I don't see where the money is to be made. I guess the over, but then you have to trust the Canucks to score. I mean, you'd want them to score 3 goals to guarantee that you get there. But they would have to score at least 2. I don't know. I don't find it appealing. It's too bad that we don't have a goaltender on the other side and we could take advantage of a Rangers total at 6.5. So nothing for me. Deshaun G in the house. Welcome, Deshaun G, Mike Wilkerson. We are going into NBA with LJ from H-Town here. One more game of NHL to discuss. 8:30 p.m. Eastern, Minnesota Wild 27-18-4, 12-10-3 on the road at the Dallas Stars, 29-13-10, 14-5-6 at home. American Airlines Center in Dallas, Texas. Nutflush Allen says, in these spots, I look at the team total over on the dog. 2.5 at -120. Deshaun G says under on both NHL games. That was my first thought here with Wild Stars, but and then maybe we get there. I don't know if I can get there with how bad Spencer Martin is. I don't know. I really don't know if I can get there. And now you take Horvat off the Nucks, so they're not winning any faceoffs. It's just, I don't know if I can get there. But let's talk about this spot. We have Philip Gustafson, who's taken over the number 1 role in net for the Minnesota Wild. Marc-Andre Fleury has lost it. 11-7-1, 2.26 goals against average, 9.22. Sabres has 1 shutout. Jake Ottinger, 22-7-7, 2.25 goals against average, 9.24. Save percentage, 4 shutouts. Lee Davis says leaning Wild here. No doubt about it. At this price point, I would do the same. But, I've got the Wild not to make the playoffs. Actually, I don't. I only have them for under 99.5 points, don't I? That's the only bet I have. And I'm going to cash it. This is not a very good hockey team. Not a very good hockey team. What's wrong with them, right? You have Ryan Hartman is taking a step back, and you needed him to play very well. Joel Eriksson Ek has taken a step forward, but Hartman had such a big year last year. He's not able to be the center for Kaprizov and Zuccarello anymore. He's just not playing well enough. His ice time continues to get cut. He played 11 minutes and 45 seconds in that loss to the Coyotes. They opened up their post-All-Star break with an ugly 3-2 loss to Arizona. I mean, he's 4 goals and 6 assists in 18 games since he returned from injury, playing with those superstars. And Kaprizov superstar. Zuccarello is a very good player. The Stars had lost 3 straight games all in overtime before the break. They snapped out of it with a 3-2 shootout victory at home over the lowly Ducks on Monday. So that's 4 straight games that have gone beyond regulation for the Dallas Stars. They dominated the faceoff circle 38-20, but let the Ducks back in it. It was 2-0 in the third period, and they let the Ducks back in it. But this is a good, deep squad that looks more than capable of winning the Central Division in the regular season. How they're going to be in the playoffs is another story altogether, but the West is wide open. Right now, the Wild open up plus 115 and now plus 123. Total opening up at 5.5. There's been a slight move to the over, and it moved even to 6 at 10:54. So, Dad Fan says if I bet hockey nights, only the Stars. Deshaun looking at the Canucks plus 2.5. We'll take a look at that, but certainly makes me uncomfortable. That's minus 260. I guess you're parlaying, so what? You're minus 260. Let's see what that parlay would. I have a rule, Deshaun, and whatever makes you money, keep and roll with it. But I never turn a dog into a favorite ever, and you've turned them into a huge favorite. But let's just see what that would be. Because it's hard to figure out how to get paid here. So you have the plus 2.5 and minus 260. And then the total you are putting up a full goal here in Minnesota, Dallas, a minus 170. Gives you a plus 119 2-team parlay. All right, yeah, go get it, Deshaun. Go get it. Nothing interests me enough to to put hard-earned money on here, but we have a huge card tomorrow, and there's going to be so many opportunities to make cash. And market clearly moving in Dallas Stars' favor. A team that's played 4 straight games that have gone beyond regulation. What do you trust here? How do you make money on it? I don't find it appealing. So let's move on to NBA here. NBA. Jose, I believe the news story is supposedly 8 minutes, but I don't know. I don't believe it. I don't know. But we should try to clean up our act a little bit here. All right, let's move on to NBA and bring on your guest. He'll be here next Wednesday as well, climbing very fast amongst the capping world. And we are very lucky that we got to get him rolling because he's a great capper and he brings a lot to the table. And I love him. So let's get to work in NBA and bring on your guest to get us rolling. Coming to us from Houston, Texas, LJ from H-Town in the house. LJ, how are you, my man?
What's going on, Jimmy? How we doing this evening, sir?
Good, man. Good. It's been a decent start to NBA. The Nuggets first quarter was so easy. You wish there was first half and full game included, but at least we doubled up with that Minnesota team total under thanks to Dan Kelly's look. So it's good enough. And this is a pretty interesting card with a lot of opportunities. How are you doing, my friend?
Oh, I'm doing great. Congratulations to LeBron last night, passing the all-time points. I was the idiot that took his points under, thinking he was going to do it against Milwaukee on Thursday. But hey.
I thought the same thing. I
thought the
same thing. It's just tough. It's tough when we put our own scripts onto the game. And I guess that's what you have to do in the player prop world.
Yeah.
But yeah,
we should have known because Oklahoma City was pickings for him to do it versus them because Milwaukee's a better team. They play defense. And it was a guarantee. Like he may have needed 10 or 15 points, so he would have had it. But I just think he did it last night just to get it out the way because the game versus Milwaukee is going to be much more of a competitive game, and that may have brought a distraction to that game. So that's how I put it in my mind. But hey, it's all good. We can make the money back today. So let's get to it. Let's handle some business.
Let's get to work. There's my guy, Luis, coming to us from Costa Rica. Nice to have Luis rocking with us again. We got a great group ready to go. Subhuman Gaucho, Deshaun G, Von Polo on his birthday, TNT, Alfred, the Foulish Hound, I'm That Heat. Let's get to work. 7 p.m. Eastern. The Detroit Pistons are what we get rolling with. 14-41, 7-20 on the road. The Cleveland Cavaliers, 34-22, 22-6 at home. We're at Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse in Cleveland, Ohio. Also, the trade deadline is tomorrow. That's how close we are to the trade deadline. So there may be some news reports from Jose Bouquet as the show goes on. 1 day away. Skydragon said, I didn't know a ceremony during the game was part of basketball. Did that catch you by surprise? That caught us by surprise.
No, not necessarily because it was early enough in the game to where he passed it and then they could focus on the rest. But if it would have happened maybe in the fourth quarter with maybe 3 or 2 minutes left, they may not have stopped the game for it just because of the time of the game. But, it was quick. It was ceremonious. He deserved it. He's the king. So he deserved it.
I feel you. Well, let's look at today's card. Pistons, Cavs is first up for us. Let's go over to the line history here and see what we are dealing with. Go over to the cash flow, set a quick table, and get to work here on the hardwood. Detroit, Cleveland. Cleveland starting to play some really strong basketball of late. They open up at minus 12.5. Right now, they're minus 13. Total-wise, it's opened up at 222.5, and it's now at 223. Take a look at the cash flow for this one. Cash-wise, we have 5,986 tickets in, and it's pretty split. 54% of the tickets, 53% of the cash on Cleveland, 61% of the tickets, and 76% of the cash on the under. 61 and 76. It has gone up a half point. Detroit is tricky. Their pace, though, has completely slowed down. 2-3 weeks ago, they were playing at a much faster pace, and we're down almost 4 or 5 possessions a game over the past 5, 98.90. And then Cleveland sped up a little bit. There's been times when they've been down to 93.5 or 94 possessions a game. They're up to 97.20. Pistons enter having lost 4 of 5, 8 of 10, and 2 straight 111-99 was their last game at home to the Celtics on Monday. Bogdanovich led the Pistons with 21 points. That we all expect to be his final home game in the Detroit Pistons uniform. The trade deadline, we expect him to be moved. Because of that, it's possible that he doesn't play tonight, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very possibility. Very possibility.
So that would give Sadiq Bey run, and he's going to get a lot of run here for the rest of the season, which would mean, if you were going to bet on the idea that Bogdanovich isn't in the lineup tonight, why risk an injury here when you know you're going to move him? I mean, I try to stay off the prop market, but I wonder if they're even offering these Sadiq Bey props, because you got to think that they aren't. Of course not. Bogdanovich, Duran, Ivy Stewart, of course not. Okay, interesting. Cavaliers come in off their third straight win, 114-91 at the Wizards on Monday. Jarrett Allen, 10 of 13, 23 points. Garland, 23 points. Mitchell, 21. Mobley, 16. 5 boards, 2 steals, blocks. This is a spot where nobody played over 30 minutes. Actually, I guess Jarrett Allen was the one who played 30. So this is a fresh, rested squad against a Pistons team that's likely not going to have Bogdanovich. Tongue-tied says Bogdanovich staying with Detroit. Wild. Nutflush says Sky Dragon, it should never be part of game. Yeah, I get it. Sammy Comer says Garland now questionable. Mitchell questionable as well. Mike M says Cavs first quarter has continued to produce the goods. Sean Dozier also talking about being questionable. And then we have a question from Fowlish Hound, which I will ask you after this breakdown, LJ. Let's get to work. How are you getting paid, or is this a spot that isn't appealing? Pistons, Cavaliers.
Oh, I'm attacking this hard. This is a divisional game. I love them because it's a lot of sample size that we can cap and break down between these teams because they have recent history. So let's start with Detroit, Jimmy. 5-13 ATS in the last 18 games in the first quarter. 2-12 straight up in the last 14 in the first quarter. 3-11 on the road versus the East. 0-11 versus this division. Now the Cavs 8-4 versus the division. 13-3 at home versus the East. and they've won 6 out of their last 7 first quarters straight up. So I'm automatically going to that one straight off the bat, Jimmy. Cavs, first quarter, I don't care what the spread is, because Detroit is so horrible in the first quarter. It's just ridiculous. And I think the Cavs are going to jump on them quick, often, and early, because the Cavs are +6 in the last 3 games in the first quarter margin. They're 4-1 in the last 5 to the under at home. So I'm also leaning towards the under for the full game. Actually, I'm going to make it official. Under 223 for the full game under as well. I don't believe Detroit has any chance in this game to make it a game. Like you just said, they may sit Bogdanovich because he's possibly going to get traded. So the roster is going to be in flux tonight. And Cleveland is playing very, very well right now. They're 21-6 as a home favorite, 4-1 ATS in their last 5. And they're number 1 in the NBA in points allowed at 106. And they only allowed 102 their last 3 games. Detroit is only averaging 105 points in their last 3 games. And the Pistons have an average margin of losses on the road by 14 points. So, Cavs, first quarter, full game under 223 is my play, Jimmy.
Very interesting. This game's being taken off the board. Sky Dragon says it's down to 11.5. This game's been taken off the board now at Pinnacle. So that's screaming that either there's been a trade made but I think it's screaming that one of these guys that's questionable is out.
Yep.
We have DG saying it's down to 11. I wonder if this is updating here because I don't have it at 11. I still have it. Let me just move over to spread, see if it's moving anywhere. Yes, a Pinnacle just open. It's all moved to 11.5. Now, there are some lines that you could call stale. I'm not sure, but we're not even looking at the side right now. But that is happening. So do you want to wait and see what the fallout here before locking these spots in? The first quarter would have just moved in your favor. instead of the 4.5. There was a 4 we found. It's now moved to 3.5 at Pinnacle. Do you want to wait to find out what's going on?
Yeah. Let's wait. We got the whole show to just wait to see. Maybe someone come through once the show stuff.
Yeah, Louis saying that it's off of his book. A coin currency play today. I love a coin. I want to rock with that exact spot here that you're on there. I'm gonna get ready. That's our final game that we're dropping. Deshaun G says Cavs everything today. First quarter, first half, full game. I think it's imperative, Deshaun, to now wait. Just know why this dropped 2 points at all the books. So I'm that Heat says off on Bet Online. So let's revisit this at the end. LJ wanted, and that was the Cavs first quarter and the under. But let's have all the information, which is imperative.
Yes, let's do it.
Let's move on to the next spot on the board. 7 p.m. Eastern. Charlotte Hornets 15-40, 8-23 on the road to Washington Wizards 24-29, 12-12 at home. Oh, there was a question from the Fowlish Hound. She says, "Are you coming to eat with us as well, LJ?" With the
Of course, Fowlish. Put me on the list right
Thursday night, Pubapalooza, the infusion party. I like calling it an infusion party. Keeps it kind of. All right, 221.5. Gregory Simmons says now. So that's got to be Mitchell out. You'd have to think, but we're going to come back and to get your information from you guys. If anybody finds out exactly what's going on, Gary's saying Mitchell out, but we will find out that and confirm it. Charlotte Hornets. Leal said it says Hornets. Hornets 15-48 and 23 on the road. Capital One Arena here, Washington, D.C., where the Wizards are 12-12. Over the past 5, the Hornets are 1-4, playing at the pace of 102.90 possessions a game. Washington 2-3, playing at the pace of 98.90 possessions a game. Let's go into the line history here and figure out how exactly we want to move on it. Washington opened up as 4.5-point favorites. That is exactly where they are right now. There's been no movement at all. Total-wise, it's opened up at 236.5. It's dropped a half point to 236. When we get to the love it, Deshaun, respect, man. Nice to, man, we don't die, we multiply, man. Respect. 3,209 tickets in, 20% of the tickets and 53% of the cash is on Charlotte. Clear, it feels like that's sharp money on the Charlotte Hornets with the line staying the same at this point. 74% of the tickets and 80% of the cash is on the under. So it looks like both of those looks seem to be where the sharp money is. Charlotte comes in off its 4th straight loss, 119-113 at home versus Magic on Sunday. LaMelo went off 33, a season high for him, including 6 of 13 from 3. 25.5 points a game he's averaging during this losing streak. The problem is on the boards. They're just getting torched on the boards here. They got out-rebounded by the Pistons on Friday, 51-37. They got out-rebounded 52-39 against the Magic. The Wizards come in off their 3rd straight loss, 114-91 at home versus Cleveland on Monday. This 3-game losing streak comes on the heels of that 6-game winning streak. No Kyle Kuzma with the left ankle sprain. No Bradley Beal with the left foot soreness. Both players are questionable here. But if you're asking Porzingis and Barton to do all the work for you, you're going to stack L's. And we need to know if Kuzma and Beal are in as well. So tongue-tied, that wouldn't have happened if they were just added to the injury report as questionable. That there has to be more than that for a 2-point move. Somebody's got to be out. If they add the questionable is fine, but they wouldn't pull it off the board at the books unless there was something more going on, and we'll find it out. But take it away here, LJ. Charlotte, Washington.
Yeah, I'm not interested in betting this game. This is a divisional game, which I love, but both these teams are coming off losing streaks right now, and you just mentioned Bradley Beal and Kuzma. I think Kuzma's out. He hurt his ankle pretty bad. I don't know if Beal's going to be available to play or not, but it's just too much conflicting things going on with me to try to choose a side. But the Hornets are trash, man. They, especially in the first half. They're 738 first half ATS, which is dead last. They're 530-2 straight up in the last 37 in the first half. 218-1 in the last 21. So they're horrible first half. Meanwhile, the Wizards, they've been playing pretty well in the first half of late. They're 15-7 straight up in their last 22. They're 5-3 straight up in their last 8 in the first half. And they have a plus 5 point differential in the first half in the last 3 games, which is top 5 in the league. But I just can't trust it. They don't have their full players. You say a lot of sharp money is on the Hornets. I wouldn't be putting my money on the Hornets, but hey, these are professionals. This is what they do. So they have sharp money on the Hornets. So the Hornets could possibly come in here and win this game. They are 8-2 ATS in the last 10 versus the Wizards. So there is a possibility they could cover and possibly win all right. But I'm just going to stay off. Like I mentioned, LaMelo's been playing well as well. I wouldn't be mad if you took his PRA or his 3-point prop because it's been cashing as of late. But for you to choose a side in this game is going to be really, really tricky. So I'm just going to stay off. I would lean towards the under because the under is 8 out of the last 10 games versus Charlotte when Wizards are playing. So under is a strong lean, but I'm going to stay off.
Yeah, it comes down to this here. Do you want the Hornets at 4.5 and have the announcement that Beal is out or Kuzma is out? Kuzma's not even practicing with the team today. I mean, it's fair to assume that he's probably unlikely. If they're both announced out, this drops to what? 2?
Yeah, 2.
So
2.5.
Yeah. So the whole idea is whether or not you want to. It's a bet on injuries as much as it's a bet on the game. If Beal and Kuz are out, then this total drops to 234, 233.5. Mm-hmm. So it's possible if you move on the Hornets and the under right now that you'll be very happy with the situation come tip off.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if I can do it. Sammy Comer said you couldn't pay me to bet this game.
Right? For real, Sammy.
Gregory Simmons, our guy. Hopefully Gregory going to run with us again at Pubapalooza in San Antonio. We don't know that yet, Gregory Simmons. They're just questionable at this point. So we can't, it's the most important part of this show is giving as much information as possible. But also, if there's a situation that we can't confirm, that's important to legitimize. Billy Briz in the house is Hornets 8-2 against the spread last 10 meetings head to head. Billy Briz. I think that the Hornets in the under is the bet that makes sense. I just don't know if we move on that. Res Mob in the house. And PJ Washington over 1.5 threes for Razor Sharp picks.
Good look, Razor.
Swiss Horton saying a great addition to your NBA cabin would be to see Sammy Comer. Since I first met Sammy, I've wanted to have him on camera, and it looks like that's going to be happening here in a little bit. So I agree completely. Let's move on to the next game here and the big one. 7:30 p.m. Eastern. Philadelphia 76ers 34-18, 14-10 on the road at the Boston Celtics 38-16, 20-7 at home. TD Garden in Boston, Massachusetts. Philadelphia 3-2 over their past 5, playing at the pace of 100 possessions a game. Boston 3-2, playing at the pace of 97.15 possessions a game. Alfred says the Hornets could trade someone away before tip. You're right. If this was Thursday, I would be very sure of it. But you are absolutely right, Alfred. You're absolutely right. Do you really want to get involved with hard-earned money on a spot? And at least for me, I'll make that decision in an hour and a half, where we hopefully have some more information, once the show is over. But I can understand everybody's trepidation on the spot here. TD Garden in Boston, Massachusetts. So Boston 3-2 over the past 5, playing at the pace of 97.15 possessions a game. Let's start with the line history here in this one. Jose Bouquet's Boston Celtics. Nasty Nate's Boston Celtics. Celtics open up -4.5, -105. That's exactly where they are right now. No movement whatsoever. Total opened up at 227. Has dropped down to 224. So big move to the under there. Take a look at the cash flow here. Cash flow wise, we have 10,598 tickets in. By far the most bet game of the day. 61% of the tickets and 80% of the cash is on the Philadelphia 76ers. Then 45% of tickets, 96% of cash is on the under. A big bet's moved on the under. Let's Dance says Boston smash spot. Lip Pick says Philly smash spot. Celtics are a game ahead of the Bucks and 3 games ahead of the Sixers. It's pretty getting tight, man. Philly had their 8-game road winning streak, 2-game winning streak overall, but 8-game road winning streak snapped in a 108-97 loss at the Knicks on Sunday. Embiid 31-14. Frickin' Korkmaz has demanded a trade. When you sit and you're sitting and they're not playing, I don't know if you can demand a trade. You should ask for one. because no one gives a fuck about what you have to say for Ken Korkmaz. So why don't you just politely ask for a trade? Don't demand shit. How about that? Celtics come in off their third win in 4 games, 111-99 Detroit on Monday. Jaylen Brown was sick. Marcus Smart still dealing with the ankle. Luke Cornett dealing with an ankle injury as well. They were all unavailable, but no matter. Celtics took care of business. Take it away for us here, LJ. Big game, Sixers, Celtics.
This is a big game, Jimmy. Very, very big game. Very tricky game. And hopefully we can talk it out to see if we can come up with a play, because I haven't came up with a play yet. These two teams played the very first game of the season. 76ers have been playing very well as of late. Since December 9th, Jimmy, they're 22-6 in their last 28 games. They had an 8-game winning streak sandwiched in between there. They had a 7-game winning streak sandwiched in between there. And they're also 8-2 in their last 10. First quarter, 13-3-2 straight up in their last 18 in the first quarter. 7-2-1 in their last 10. They're averaging 32 points in the last 3 games in the first quarter. My Boston, they're 12-9 straight up in the first quarter in their last 21, averaging 30 points. So these teams have been putting up points early and often. Like I said, the last time these two teams played, 76ers got them in the first quarter, 29-24. Boston came back and got them in the second quarter and third quarter. So Boston may start off slow today, considering Philly has been hot in the first quarter. They're a plus 8-point margin as well in the last 3 games in the first quarter. Boston is plus 9. So these two teams are right there, Jimmy, right there. And I couldn't come up with a play because Boston's, they're 7-1 in the division, 10-6 at home versus the East. But if I had to make a play, I would have to probably take the under, because both of these teams are 1 and 2 in defensive rebounding percentage in the last 3. Boston is number 2 in points allowed. So I don't see it was a lot of points in the last game. It was 243 as a total. 76ers was 117, and Boston was 126. So it was a high total the first game. I don't see that tonight, because now that these teams are getting on a streak, both teams are top 5 in defensive efficiency. So they tend to play very well, and they don't give up a lot. Now, Boston shoots a lot of threes, and that's what really gets me off of them. I have kind of a love-hate relationship with Boston going back to last year with the finals. Every time I bet on them, they lose. If I don't bet on them, they win. So I just stay away from Boston games really completely. Jason Tatum, he's having a good season. He had 35, 12, and 4 their last game. Jaylen Brown had 35. But nobody else contributed. So can I depend on those two players every single game to at least keep Boston in these games and try to win games when the 76ers have Embiid, they have Harden, they have different players, Maxey, they have players that can contribute and don't have to focus on a couple of players all the time. And they've been playing defensive well of late. So all that said, Jimmy, Boston is 17-4 straight up the last 21 games at home versus Philly. So if anything happens, I can lean towards the under, because both teams can win this game. But I'm officially off right now, Jimmy, because I can't come to a side, because both these teams are playing well right now.
Yeah, this already dropped down to 224.5 and come back to 225.5. I feel like at 224, I have a threshold for an opener at Pinnacle at 2.5 points. If it moves more than 2.5 points, I feel like I let it go.
Yeah.
And it's past that right now. I agree with the under. I think this would be a very intense basketball game. I also think that the Sixers plus 4.5 is the side here. I expect Embiid to play. We expect Jaylen Brown to play. He's probable. And we know Marcus Smart is out. I'm not saying that the Sixers win the game outright, but I feel like that it was a look-ahead situation, possibly. And maybe not when you're at Madison Square Garden. I mean, do you ever look past Madison Square Garden? But I think the Sixers are the move here. I do. And 4.5.
I'm not mad at that.
Seems like a nice range here.
Yeah. And Boston, like I said, it depends on them hitting their threes. If they're hitting their threes, the game's going to go over and they're probably going to blow them out. But if they're missing their threes, they're struggling to get buckets, because you're probably not going to get a lot inside with Embiid. So you're going to have to depend on the perimeter to make your shots. And if they're not making them, I don't see this game going over that total. So I may get to the window later on. I haven't made a decision now, but I may get to the window with the under just because I believe it's a lot of shots going to be put up today and how efficient Boston's going to be versus that Philly defense. So that's my conundrum right there.
Let's Dance says if they had beaten the Knicks convincingly, I would be all over the Sixers. I'm the opposite. If they had beaten the Knicks convincingly, I'd be on the Celtics. I like the fact that they got a slap in the face and we're up 21 points and let the Knicks back in it. Let's do chaos looking at the first half over. Lucky Lefty on the first half under. Shout out to our guy Lucky Lefty in the house, man. He likes full game under in first half under. And respect to our guy Lucky Lefty, man. Real sportsman in the house. I love it. Astute Chaos says Philly defense on the road don't show up.
Yeah,
they just won 8 straight games on the road.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Look, Astute Chaos, I really respect your reaction, and I've copied and pasted it. But there's Eric Jones in the house. I mean, if I was sitting here right now with the Hornets plus 4.5 and the Sixers plus 4.5, I'd be pretty comfortable. Now, is it also possible that you would be sitting here with the Hornets at 4.5 and Beal and Kuz would be announced in? I don't think Kuzma will, but it goes down to, it goes up to 5.5. And, Embiid, who's always on the injury report, doesn't play because of the foot. And this, goes to 8.5. I mean, that's the problem with NBA.
Yep.
So, but Eric Jones looking at Philly plus 4.5. My guy Rez Mob in the house. All right. Astute Chaos on the first half over. Lucky Lefty looking at first half under and the full game under. It's just, I hate this.
Yeah.
If you're going to legalize gambling, then we need to have more clarity on the injuries. There's got to be rules that are set aside, or don't legalize it. Because if you're going to make it, if you're going to say that this doesn't need to be something we just whisper about, then we need clarity on what's going on with this bullshit. And same in hockey, and same as basketball is the worst, but the other sports need to do the same as well. Okay, so I do like the Sixers here, but there's nothing more irritating when you put money down on a situation and you don't have all the information, and they'll make if this continues, we'll stop betting NBA. I say it and I don't mean it. Okay, let's move on to the next spot on the board. 7:30 p.m. Eastern. Let Sammy Calmer lead us into that. Pacers plus 7 for Sammy Calmer. Pacers 25-38 and 18 on the road. At Miami Heat 29-25, 17-9 at home. Miami-Dade Arena, Miami, Florida. Indiana 1-4 over their past 5. I would be too. Billy Brisbane said I would be shocked if Embiid sat. I agree with that, Brizzy.
I would too.
Yeah, I agree with that, Brizzy. Miami 2-3 over their past 5, playing the pace 97.70 possessions a game. Markel here on the same plan as our Sammy Calmer. Let's take a look at the line history here for this one. Indiana, Miami. So we have the Heat opening up at -7. That's dropped to -6.5. Totals wise, this opened up at 222.5 and it's climbed to 223. When we go over to the cash flow here, 5,935 tickets in. They've given slight line value to the Heat. 62% of the tickets and 75% of the cash is on the Heat. 36% of the tickets and 69% cash is on the under. Gregory Simmons looking at Miles Turner over 8.5 boards. Markel saying I'm not laying 7 with the Heat, but Eric Jones looking at the Heat -6. Ryan Mueller looking at the Heat first quarter. And Von Polo looking at the Pacers to be up outright, straight up in the money line on the first quarter. Von Polo, Pacers first half money line. So he's looking at, getting the cash from the Pacers first half and first quarter. Pacers coming off their 5th loss in 6 games, 122-103 at home to Cleveland on Saturday. 12 losses in their past 14 games. So they don't have Halliburton for 10 games. They go 1-9 without him. He's come back. They're 1-2 with him. They were 8-2 before he got hurt. We know the type of player he's been this year. He's been very, very good. Heat coming off their second straight loss in 3rd and 4 games. Right when it looks like they're turning it around, they fall back again. 123-115 of the Bucks on Saturday. Butler went for 32. No Kyle Lowry, no Victor Oladipo, and both Lowry and Oladipo will be out again. And having Lowry off the floor will benefit Halliburton. Get Lowry's fat ass off the floor, and that Lowry can play D, especially when there's a young point guard who, makes the All-Star game. So it's too bad that Lowry isn't in there to show some defense. Take it away for us here, LJ. Pacers, Heat.
This game's screaming under, Jimmy. Already bet it, already locked it in. Under 223. Miami has beat the Pacers have beat Miami twice already. So they could win this game outright. I'm not mad at anybody that's got Pacers +7. If I was a man that had high volume and I like to bet and I had money, I definitely would bet the Pacers +7 today. They are 9-4 versus this division, Southeast Division. They're only 5-8 on the road versus the East, though. And we already know the record for the Pacers. 16-38-1 ATS in the first quarter, which is dead last in the NBA. 9-17 on the road in the first quarter ATS. 1-6 in the last 7 on the road in the first quarter. -4 point differential on the first quarter on the season. But in the last 3 games, they're +1. So they progressed in the first quarter as of late. It could be the teams that they're playing, but for the simple fact that you went from a -4 to now you a +1 your last 3 games is a telling sign. Mind you, Miami, 4-7 in the division versus this division. I'm sorry, the Central. 9-6 at home versus the East. Miami is also horrible in the first quarter. 2-7-1 ATS in their last 10 in the first quarter. They struggle in this spot. 6-15-2 as a home favorite. 5-14-1 as a favorite, a 4+ or more dog. And Jimmy, +4 more point spread. And they have 9 outright losses in this situation. So I did not pick a side. I would lean, like I said, I will lean towards the Pacers, but I scream under because I've capped the games, all the 3 games that they played so far. Every single game has not gone over 200 points. I got an average of 196, Jimmy, as a total their last 3 games. And Miami, 5 out of the last 5 games has went under. The Pacers, last 6 out of the last 8 games versus Miami has gone under. Both teams are bottom in the league in scoring their last 3 games. Miami's averaging 106, Pacers averaging 107. So that puts you well under that threshold of 223, Jimmy. So my bet, under 223 is the play.
I love the look. I wish Lowry was out there, slowing things down and shooting bricks, but I love the under. The idea being that the Heat are at home and still should dictate pace, and that pace, especially when the ball's in Butler's hand, is slow. 97.70 possessions a game. I mean, if the Heat were playing the Knicks, this total would be what, 217.5, 218,
something like that. Yep.
Yeah. So I think it's a great look. Also, the spot here, we have 36% of tickets on the under, so the public is betting the over, and 69% of cash on the under. So the big bets are coming in on the under. Also, there were 223.5s on the board. They are gone. And sorry, let me move that here. They're gone. So we have even a 222.5s now at some of the books. There is one or two 223.5, so we can give you that. One at Heritage at -108, one at BetOnline at -110. But this opened at 222.5 and moved up. It moved up at 10:30 last night. People betting the over. And then unders started being bet, and we've seen it dropping. So I like it. I like where you're at here. Dan Kelly saying Darius Garland, Thumb Donovan Mitchell going added to the injury report tonight against Detroit. Both of those is questionable. Neither of them on the floor at shoot-around today. That's what happened. Mm-hmm. Shoot-around started, and they were not there. Yeah. Wow. Cavs lines are back on FanDuel. Okay, well, we will. That's from the Cavs beat reporter. Great job, Dan. God, I love.
That's what we got the chat for, Jimmy. That's why we got the chat.
It's exactly why we got the chat. And let's give a shout out to our Dan Kelly, because Dan Kelly was the reason why I had a profitable NBA day yesterday. It was one thing being on the Nuggets first quarter, but seeing him doubling up, taking unders on the Wolves. Really helped me get cash. So shout out to our Dan Kelly. Markel, finding the beat writers is so easy. Just type it in the computer. You'll go right to directly to their Twitter, but just type in any team and beat writer in any sport, and you'll go right to their Twitter. It's perfect. Works beautifully. So I want to roll with you on this under. I can understand the look on the Pacers. We've seen it move a half point here. Now, the reason why I'm not going to move on it is because, there still are the bigger bets coming in on the Heat. Which may be a mistake. I'm going to trust, the cappers here that are all very interested in the Pacers. But I am going to join LJ on the under 223.5. There's Jeffrey Blue in the house. Matt Stoney ready to get to work. AOD ready to go. Let's move on. San Antonio Spurs, Toronto Raptors. We just spoke about Dan Kelly, and he's on the fourth quarter over 55.5. There are 56.5. So keep this note for you guys as you watch tonight. He says if this first half is low scoring, he will be betting the second half over at halftime. Guillermo Zertucci in the house. Jay Money says, I'm here for my guy, LJ. Nice to see you, Jay Money.
Shout out, Jay.
Yeah, LJ is the truth here. Let's talk Spurs, Raptors. Spurs 14-40, 5-19 on the road. Raptors 25-30, 15-12 at home. Joe Chris rolling with us. Nice to see you, Joe. Scotiabank Arena in Toronto, Ontario. The Spurs have lost 9 straight. Over the past 5 games, they're playing at the pace of 101.29 possessions game. They've slowed it a bit. Toronto 3-2, playing pace of 96.60 possessions game. That's dropped quite a bit for the Raptors. The Raptors are as tough to watch as any team out there right now. The idea that they could have a top 10 offense and be this bad is just confounding. The only thing we were trusting when the season started was their defense, and it's non-existent, and that's just shocking. Toronto opening up at minus 10.5 at Pinnacle. There's been a 3-cent move towards them. Totals-wise, it's opened up at 234. It's dropped a 1.5 to 232.5. And cash-wise, tongue-tied, we weren't saying that you were wrong. We were just saying the fact that they were listed as questionable, that there had to be more than that happening. And the more than that happening was they weren't even on the floor at shoot-around. We were never saying that you were wrong. We were just saying that just being listed as questionable is not enough to take a game off of the board. Why it was taken off the board was because shoot-around started and they weren't there. So nobody was saying you were wrong. And all this is all about getting as much information as possible. Let's go back to the spot here. We have the Spurs, according to Sports Insights, given full line value. But no other team on the board even close to full line value. The Heat have 8% line value. Spurs 100% line value here. But they're a very, very public dog. 3,795 tickets. We have a small sample size. 71% of the tickets and 95% of the cash is on the Spurs here. And then 74% of the tickets are on the under, and we don't have a cash count there. So that is the situation. Let's set a quick table for LJ. Spurs coming off that 9 straight loss, 128-104 at the Bulls. Keldon Johnson goes for 21, and Johnson is questionable with an ankle injury. Trey Jones, sore left foot, didn't play. He's also questionable. Now, Johnson did play. He led the team with 21 points. Someone is doubtful for Wednesday's game. He's been out with that lower back injury. They did acquire Dwayne Dedmon. It was a strange spot. Are they just going to move him right away? And no one knows what the plan is there. Yeah. But we certainly don't expect to see him starting at center for the San Antonio Spurs. Toronto finished their 7-game road trip 4-3. They built a little bit of momentum, I guess. They were behind in most of that Memphis game. They came back and took the lead late. But that was a Memphis team without Ja, without Steven Adams, without Dylan Brooks. Anunoby is now practicing on his own, dealing with a wrist injury. We don't know how bad the wrist injury is, but we're pretty sure that he would prefer to be wearing another uniform in 48 hours. Raptors destroyed the Spurs on November 2nd in San Antonio, 143-100. Do the Spurs care? I don't know. I don't know if they do. Siakam 22, 11, and 10 in 28 minutes in that game. Take it away for us here, LJ. Spurs, Raptors.
Yeah, Spurs. Toronto, long road trip, man. 7 games, Western Conference road trip. They haven't been home since January the 22nd. So that's a long, long road trip. But I believe they'll handle business tonight versus the Spurs. You know, like you just mentioned, they smacked them up 143-100 last game. So I don't see any issue in this game. But the Spurs, if you know the Spurs, you know that they're an over team, especially first quarter, first half. You know, they're 17-7 to the first quarter over on the road, 16-8 to the first half over on the road. So road overs is where the Spurs thrive in. 7-4 in their last 11 on the road in the first quarter. So over. So that's probably the spot that we should key in on going towards the rest of the season. Spurs, first quarter, first half over against these teams, because these teams are putting up 30 points, 29, on these Spurs, and it's going over because the Spurs are competitive. They try to stay in the game, but they just can't score enough because they don't have the players. So, but mind you, first quarter, they're averaging 28 in the last three, averaging 58 in the last three in the first half. But I'm going to key in on the first quarter because even though Toronto's coming off this long road trip, they're back home first game. I believe they handle business in the first quarter because history shows that they're 5-2 straight up in the first quarter versus the West since December. So they play good in that spot. Their last 6 games at home first quarter, they're 5-1 straight up. So I believe that they can handle business first quarter. I stepped on -3.5. I don't know if you have that number right now. I bet it early, first quarter -3.5. I believe that they will score a lot of points on the Spurs as well. The Spurs are allowing 128 points in the last 3 games. Toronto's averaging 117. The Raptors are 6-3 versus this division, 5-3 at home versus the West. So I believe that they should be able to handle business. I'm not going to touch the 10.5 spread though at the full game because the Spurs could make this game competitive at the end. The Raptors could have tired legs towards the end because, like I said, the Spurs stay in these games. Even though they're getting beat, they're still trying to score and be competitive. So I'm staying away from the 10.5 spread. But the Spurs, they turn the ball over a lot. Toronto had 16 steals in that game, 31 points off 23 turnovers for the Spurs in their last game. And Toronto, they take care of the ball, and they're number 1 in the league in steals. So this is a perfect opportunity for them to get back at home, get a good win. They won every quarter in that game versus San Antonio in the previous matchup. And both first quarters and first halves went over the total. So I'm going to stick to the first half -3.5 and just get in and get out.
I'm with Jay Money here. I do not see how the Raptors can come back after a 7-game trip and be up for a game against the worst team in the league.
Early, though. Early. See, I'm mentioning early.
No, and I don't mind your look on them early, but
yeah,
everybody's thinking about the trade deadline. Everybody's thinking about, am I going to be here in 24 hours or not? Some of them don't want to be here.
Mm-hmm. I'm just looking at the matchup too, because the Spurs, I believe that they can jump on them quick. Now I think the game will go over too, because the over is 10 out of the last 13 games the Spurs have played on the road. So they are going over, and like I said, early they're an over team as well. But the record that Toronto has in the first quarter at home and versus the West in previous matchups, I have to trust that number and see that they will cover 4 points in the first quarter.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, they definitely built some momentum winning the last 2 games of that road trip. And I mean, it's too late. It's too late to build any momentum, but they probably feel better about themselves, at least getting on the plane and coming back to Canada. I'm interested in the Raptors first half team total under 62.5.
Okay.
I mean, are we really going to go for 32 and 31 back-to-back quarters? A team that's playing at a pace of 96.60 possessions a game over their past 5. I'm not sure if I pull the trigger on it, but I'm not sure how long. I mean, I think there's going to be a lot of other things going on right now with the last game before the trade deadline.
Let me ask you a question about the Raptors. Next year, who do you expect to be on this team next season that would be gone this year? Who are you expected to stay? A viable piece, I'm sorry.
Scotty Barnes and Siakam will be on the Raptors next year.
Okay.
And I expect that I don't know why you'd want. The problem is, Van Fleet's invested a ton of time into the Raptors, but I think it will just be those two guys, and we'll build around there. Is my expectation.
So Van Fleet gone, Onobi gone.
Oh, Achua will stay.
Okay.
Achua will stay. I think he's been playing better and better and better, and at the price point right now, we got control over him. But we'll see. This team is mediocre, and there's nothing worse in professional sports than being mediocre. So, and they're below average. They're worse than mediocre. So I expect changes, and we all trust Masai very much. So.
Because he cares. Some of these owners and GMs don't care about winning. They just care about selling tickets. So at least he's a general manager that cares. So that's a good thing going for y'all.
Yeah, no doubt. We with him in charge, we have a bright future, and we know a lot of other teams want him. We're lucky to have him. LJ's on the Raptors first quarter -3.5 and -110. I'm interested in the Raptors first half team total under 62.5. Interested. The game against the Rockets was extremely aggravating. I mean, the Spurs actually have Portal, who, like, when we play against guys with 7-footers. Now I know Portal isn't like an Embiid, drag your balls in your face, bully you kind of a center, but we have trouble with it. And the Rockets should have been a perfect spot for the Raptors to really dominate, and they couldn't do that. And they're tough to trust. Let's move forward, not stick with this game too much. And I get angrier the longer I talk about the Raptors. So, but I'm interested in that first half team total under 62.5. LJ Raptors first quarter -3.5, and Dan again saying if the first half is low scoring, he will be betting the second half over at halftime. Let's move on. 8 p.m. Eastern next up. Sacramento Kings 30-23, 14-12 on the road at Houston Rockets 13-41, 8-19 at home. Toyota Center in Houston, Texas. Sacramento 3-2 over the past 5, playing at the pace of 100.11 possessions a game. Houston 2-3, playing at the pace of 100.80 possessions a game. Houston's pace has sped up a little bit over the last week and a half or so. Take a look at the line history here. Rockets open up as 8-point dogs. That's where they are right now. There's been a 4-cent move to the Kings at Pinnacle. This total opened up at 241. There's been a 1.5 move towards the under down to 239.5. Take a look at where the cash is for this one. 7,973 tickets in, and it's all on the Kings. 82% of the tickets and 97% of the cash. If that was the case with 8,000 tickets in, you'd think that the line would have moved more than 4 cents towards the Sacramento Kings. 54% of the tickets on the under, 50-50 with the cash flow. Blip Pick says Kings team total over smash. Sacramento snapped their 2-game losing streak here in a 140-120 win on Monday. 3-3 on their 7-game road trip. De'Aaron Fox returned. He had missed 2 games, and Sacramento lost those 2 games. So De'Aaron Fox back, 16 points, 8 assists, 4 boards, 2 steals, and a block. Keegan Murray went for 38 threes. A franchise record for a rookie. Nice to see him rolling again. He's not looked very good over the last little bit. And the Rockets allowed the Kings to shoot 53.5% over the 3 games that they played this year and 46.5% from 3. It's hard to sit back and think that anything will change here. But I do not want especially after when we see these two teams play each other, twice over 3 days, you don't see the same thing generally happen in both games. So, but then can we sit here and let's let the man who knows this team inside and out give us the answer. Can you trust that the Rockets can show some heart and character and be angry about that loss?
I mean, they could, but I don't see them coming out and winning this game unless the Kings just lay down and don't care. That's the only way I could see it. But I'm looking at Kings, man. Early and off the first quarter and full game, to be honest with you. But I'm going to key in on the first quarter. They're 12-8-1 straight up their last 2-1 in the first quarter. But the Rockets are dead last, averaging 21 points in their last 3 games in the first quarter. And I went back and looked at the last 6 games, first quarter at home versus the Rockets games. The total is only hit 54 points as an average. And they have this first quarter total at 61.5. So I'm definitely smashing that under. First quarter under 61.5. I don't see the Rockets putting up more than 30 points in the first quarter. And I see the Kings right at 28. So that puts me well under that threshold. But as far as the Rockets, man, there's no way that we can bet on this team. They're horrible, 30th in turnover percentage in their last 10 games. They lead the league in turnovers on the season. 20 points off turnover was an average in the last 3 matchups versus the Kings. So Rockets, they turn the ball over. They're young. They're inexperienced. And they've been feisty as of late, considering our backcourt has been out because Jalen Green and Kevin Porter Jr. have a lot of ball usage. So they like to take ill-advised shots and, things like that. And the other players can't get involved. So they're looking for loose balls, offensive rebounds, things like that to score. But now that those players I think Jalen Green's came back. But the fact that KPJ is still out of that lineup, the ball can rotate. The ball can get around. Even Aaron Gordon is putting up 20 points. Eason's coming off the bench, giving you a double-double, being very active. So when the ball can be distributed amongst the players, you can see good things happen a lot of times. But Rockets, they die down at the end. We already know this. They can have the lead going into the fourth quarter, and they will lose the game by 15, 20 points. That's just what they do. So all in all, let's just play it safe. I don't think that they could come out in this first quarter and be competitive versus the Keys, considering the history that they have of late. So, first quarter, under 61.5. I'm expecting the Rockets to only score maybe 20, 22 points in the first half. And also, Sacramento is 17-8-1 to the under first quarter on the road. So, that puts me right there, correlates with my bet. First quarter, under 61.5.
Bet Chris and a bookmaker just moved it to 62. So we will give you the 62. Pinnacle still at 61.5. And a couple books, dicey books that we don't mention, have it at 61. But we'll give you that 62 here. Sammy Calmer says, I'm curious who lands Eric Gordon at the trade deadline. Yeah, unless Harden says I'm coming back.
No, he ain't coming back. But he could be a viable piece. Like, he would have to come off the bench. Eric Gordon's not a starter to me. He's more effective off the bench. He could be like that Russell Westbrook with the Lakers. He could come off the bench, run with the second team, give you maybe 15 points, things like that, just to keep the game going, But as far as a starter, he's not going to be competitive in any starting lineup, in my opinion.
Dan Kelly says, I got 7 books and none of them have Puddle's rebound line. I don't even have Spurs props available, or just Raptors. That's interesting. LJ Kings, Kings Houston first quarter under 62 minus 110 for LJ. This game does not appeal to me at all. And I'm not going to try to get, cute and hit that under. But I get it. I get why the lines dropped a little bit. You just have to think you're playing against a team for the second time in 2 days. There has to be a little bit more emotion, but I can't trust that the Rockets can deliver that. And
nope.
because of that, if almost any other team was playing, I would say, oh, this will be lower scoring, and the home team won't lose by 20. But I don't think I can here. Although if I had free bets, I would be moving on those. Let's move on here. 9 p.m. Eastern, Minnesota Timberwolves, 29-28, 9-16 on the road at the Utah Jazz, 27-28, 18-11 at home at Vivint Arena in Salt Lake City, Utah. Minnesota 2-3 over the past 5, playing at the pace of 103.49 possessions a game, while Utah 2-3, playing at the pace of 98.00 possessions a game. Take a look at the line history here for this one. We have the Jazz open up at -5. There's been a 2-cent move towards them. The total opened up at 236, and there's been no movement at all on that total. So no movement and a slight move to the Jazz. 2,445 tickets in. Why isn't there a bigger move to the Jazz? 57% of tickets on the Jazz, 84% of cash, 56% of tickets on the under. The problem here is that both teams are coming off, being embarrassed. Mm-hmm. And that's the problem here, because you want to back a team that's being embarrassed, but what happens when both of them have? Minnesota is on the second half back after losing horrifically last night, 146-112 at Denver. This is their third game in 4 nights. Rudy Gobert was completely outclassed. Imagine watching him on the floor and thinking about all that you had given up to have him. 5 boards and 0 of 2 shooting, and Jokic goes for a triple-double in 28 minutes. Oof. Jazz come in off their second straight loss, 124-111 at home versus Mavericks on Monday. Josh Green and Jaden Hardy go for 29 each. No Luka, no Kyrie, and then of course no Finney Smith and no Dinwiddie because they had been traded. So all those four guys are off the floor, and so it makes it tricky. Frank White in the house. What up, Frank White? And Frank White saying, "How about that easy first quarter winner with the Nuggets?" Frank White, very, very helpful. Very, very helpful what it was. So respect, my man. Take it away here for us, LJ. Is there an angle that you found? Timberwolves Jazz?
Not really, Jimmy. I don't like the fact Minnesota's on a back-to-back, and I don't like how Utah lost to the Mavericks with no viable starters in that lineup. So when we break it down, I could probably lean toward an under. I think the total's too high. Minnesota, they are 14-9-3 straight up in the last 25 in the first quarter. Utah's 9-4 ATS in the first quarter of their last 13 games. So they both are playing well in that spot. First half as well. Minnesota's 10-4 straight up in the last 14 in the first half versus the West. Utah 6-2 in their last 8 straight up in the first half. They've won 6 out of the last 8. So both these teams are playing good in these spots. But the fact that Minnesota is 5-10 on the road versus the West, 3-11 as a road dog, I believe that Utah could win this game. They are 12-4 at home versus the West. They should be mad coming off that loss versus Dallas, like I mentioned, with no players in that lineup. So I believe Utah could take this game. Now, can I trust the 5.5 spread for a game? Probably not. So what I am going to do is trust the first half. I'll take Utah. First half minus the 3. I believe that they could come out strong in the first half. They are at home, which they play very well. And I just believe that Minnesota's going to have some tired legs and probably not be up for this game, to be honest with you, because they just got blew out last night versus Denver. So now you got to go to Utah, who should be picking at the bits for getting embarrassed by Dallas. So, yeah, I think Utah's in a prime spot tonight, first half. I don't trust the full game because anything can happen. But let's just jump the first half minus 3. Let's say they come out first half and make a statement.
We can get you Utah first half minus 2.5, minus 110. If Minnesota does not come out with any fight or fire, and I was a Minnesota Timberwolves fan, I would not watch one more second of this basketball team for the rest of the year. I would be so angry after being completely embarrassed to show nothing here. And for Gobert, is Gobert going to show nothing here? I'm curious to see what bangs out in this one.
Yeah.
Sammy Comer's moving on the Jazz first quarter. Says when the line is minus 2 and the first half line is minus 2.5, tells me a good story. Frank White thinking that Minnesota was probably looking ahead to this game. What an embarrassment Rudy Gobert is. What an absolute embarrassment. Robert Franklin saying, yeah, Joker triple-double by halftime. Can you believe it? Oh, God. Imagine making that trade from the franchise that got Jefferson for Garnett. All right, let's move on. LJ on Utah, first half minus 2.5, minus 110. That game makes me very uncomfortable. We have 2 games left before we get into college basketball with Daby Cab. Next up for us is the Dallas Maverick debut of Kyrie Irving here. The Dallas Maverick debut of Kyrie Irving. Very, very exciting. 29 and 26 on the Mavs, 10-17 on the road. Kyrie going to be on his own here. No Luka, unfortunately. Luka is still out here. Both teams have won 3 of 4. Dallas won their third game in 4 nights, 124-111 at Utah on Monday. And the Clippers come home from a 4-2 6-game Eastern swing off their second straight victory, 124-116 at Brooklyn on Monday. Kawhi and Paul George both healthy, and they're 8-2 since January 20th. And the impressive part about that is 9 of those 10 games come on the road. That's very impressive. They're both playing at a pace under 100 possessions a game. Dallas 3-2 playing at a pace at 96.3 possessions a game. The Clippers 3-2 playing at a pace 99.43 possessions a game. Let's pull up the line history here for Mavericks Clippers. This was a little surprising to me that the Clippers would have to play on Wednesday. I was thinking that they would get an extra day off here. They were in Brooklyn on Monday night. So they fly out on Tuesday, and then they have to play right away. I think this is a bad spot for the Clippers. Let's take a look at the line history here with this one. We have the Clippers opening up at -8. There's been 4 cents of movement. That's all towards them. The total opened up at 222.5 is now down to 220.5. Cash wise here, 5,146 tickets in, 34% of the tickets and 84% of the cash is on the Clippers, but very little movement. 92% of the tickets, 90% cash is on the over, and it's dropped. The total's dropped. So this is a tricky one with a ton of moving parts. Mike M is on Kyrie Irving under 5.5 assists. Says one of my highest rated props on this card tonight. Robert Franklin leaning towards the under. Take it away for us here, LJ. Mavs, Clippers.
Yeah, I'm with Rob. I'm leaning towards the under too because the Clippers at home are an under team. So we could trust that because the Mavs are not going to have all their players in the lineup. Like you just mentioned, Luka's going to be out. So Kyrie has to defend for himself tonight. He could probably put up 30, but who's going to ride with him? Who's going to be those other players that's going to hold down and ride the train with him tonight? I just don't see it happening. You say the Clippers are in a vulnerable spot coming home from the Brooklyn trip, but I believe they'll be up for this game because they understand that Dallas is wounded right now, and the Clippers have to pick up wins in this Western Conference in order to get back up in them standings. So, and Paul George and Kawhi has been playing together. They haven't had any back-to-backs, so you are seeing this team, viable, making a run. And I want to see them because I like the Clippers, for some reason. I like Tyronn Lue. I love the coaching that and when they go into the halftime, they come out in the second half and be a completely different team. So I love the way he adjusts in certain situations. So, but far as Dallas, man, they're 4-6 straight up in the last 10 in the first quarter. They're 8-17-2 ATS in the first half on the road, which is dead last in the NBA. 4-6 straight up in the last 10 in the first half. Now, the Clippers, they have a bad ATS record as well on the first half. 9-16 ATS in the first half at home, but they've won 6 out of the last 8 in the first half. So they have been trending up as of late. So I would possibly say that the Clippers could win this first half, considering Dallas, their horrible ATS first half record. But I think I'm going to try and take a shot on the over first quarter because Dallas is 7-3-1 in their last 11 to the over first quarter, averaging 58 points in the first quarter of their last 3 games. No, 62 average in the first quarter of the last 3 games. I'm sorry. The Clippers have hit 56, 64, 53 in the first quarter of their last 3 games. So they have it at 56.5. And I think it being -120 is a good shot that possibly could go over. So I'm going to take that juice. I'm going to take the over 56.5 first quarter because I believe the Clippers can jump out on Dallas quick and put up maybe 35 points in the first quarter. Dallas could give you maybe 25, so that'll put you over that easily. So I'm going to trust the first quarter, and I'm not mad at the full game either because the Clippers are 10-2 versus this division, and they're and in the second half, if so happily that the Clippers are down in the first half, smash them in the second half. 21-9 straight up in their last 30 games in the second half. So, but I don't believe they'll be down. I think you can trust them early. And I'm going to trust the first quarter over. I wouldn't be mad at the first half, and I wouldn't be mad at the full game. But let's just stick to the first quarter over. I think that's a good cap, and I think I can make the money that way, taking that first quarter over.
I was trying to game script in my head, when you were discussing it, and I was actually, until you took the first quarter over 56.5, I was like, I had written down the first quarter under, but just because I was trying to figure out, here we have this Maverick squad that stepped up so beautifully in the absence of 3, star players. And then you're going to have Kyrie on the floor. So what's that going to do to the rhythm? Because like Joe Yurkovich asking about the numbers of the Maverick squad before Kyrie's, because now you have Kyrie and no Luka. It's hard to really quantify those numbers. But then it came down to, when you were talking, it came down to, I don't know what's going to happen with Kyrie on the floor. Is he going to be, we've seen when he has something to prove, he proves it. Mm-hmm. And so he has probably something to prove here. And maybe this is a big boost of excitement to the Mavs. That whether it be Kawhi or PG, that if somebody needs to defend a hot score, they have choices here with the Clippers. I guess when it comes down to it, I don't know really what's going to happen here. Matt Stoney on Powell, Zubac 9+ boards each when full alt lines are available. Mike M says Irving ball hog night. That's why he likes the under assists. And Bobby Boucher, the Bobby Bomb play of the day is which is that this game, Bobby? Let me just move over here. First quarters are these first half here. Okay, now I don't know what's going on. Here my page is all messed up. Here we go. We're back. So let's just take a look. Can you let me know if that's first quarter or first half? I don't know what else going on with this, but all right, let's move. Oh, Pacers first quarter. Okay, Pacers first quarter for Bobby Boucher. Pacers first quarter plus 2.5. All right, let's move on here. LJ's on the first quarter over 56.5. Move on to the final game on the board, 10 p.m. Eastern. Golden State Warriors 28-26, 7-20 on the road at the Portland Trailblazers 26-28, 14-12 at home, Moda Center in Portland, Oregon. It just feels like Groundhog Day for the Trailblazers. Feels like the day before the deadline. Every year, it's the exact same, regardless of who is playing alongside Dame. Is Dame going to stay? This team is 500. And today, there are 2 games under 500. It feels like it just happens time and time again. Warriors 3-2, playing at the pace of 103.74 possessions a game. Portland 3-2 over the past 5, playing at the pace of 98.40 possessions a game. Let's take a look at the line history here for this one. Over the full game. This thing's acting up with me a little bit. Okay, let's move over here. We have the Blazers opening up -3.5. They're now -2.5. A 1-point move to the Warriors. This total opened up at 235. It's dropped half point to 234.5. We go over to the cash flow here. We have 9,120 tickets in. 42% of the tickets, 51% of the cash on the Warriors. Market moving in their direction. 25% of tickets, but 76% of the cash is on the under. Big bets coming on the under. It's dropped a half point, but it's a little more than that because this got up to 236.5. So from 8 in the morning, I guess from 9:24 in the morning till now, so 3 hours here on the East, it's dropped 2 full points here. So Warriors coming off their second straight win, 141-114 at home versus the Thunder on Monday night. First game since Curry went down with the ligament damage in his left knee, and they put up 26 threes. Poole had 5, DiVincenzo 4. Blazers coming off their second straight loss here, 127-108 at home versus the Bucks on Monday. And, of course, Clay went off. I should have mentioned that. He had a spectacular game. Dame had 28 points in the loss at home to the Bucks on Monday. Simons had 21. And now we're sitting here, and they're not even in the top 10 in the Western Conference. It's just wild. Take it away for us here, LJ. The last game on the board, Mavericks Clippers.
Portland. Warriors in Portland.
Oh, sorry. Warriors, Portland. Sorry, I'm looking at
No, it's okay. This is a revenge spot for Portland, and I think I'm going to jump on them on this game. They lost 118-112 to the Warriors early, and the Warriors, we already know that they play horrible in this spot. They're back on the road. They're 4-9 on the road versus the West. They're 1-4 their last 5 on the road versus the West. So horrible spot for them. Now, Portland. We know that they don't play well in the first quarter. 2-12-1 ATS in their last 15 games in the first quarter. 1-10 in their last 11. But in that second quarter is where they come out strong. They're averaging 31 points in the second quarter. Last 3 games averaging 33. So they come out flat in the first quarter. They come out, smash you in the second quarter, and get back in the game. So I did my cap, Jimmy, and I'm going to take 2 spots in this game. First of all, I'm going to start off with the first half over, because Golden State is averaging 67 points in the first half in their last 3 games. Portland is averaging 68 points in the first half their last 5 games. And they're 5-0 straight up in the first half in the last 5 games versus the Western Conference at home. So I believe that Portland will come out strong. They have a vendetta versus the Warriors. I think they played them very well. When they play these matches, I think this is kind of a rivalry with Dame. Even though Curry's not playing, Dame still has a sour taste in his mouth about the Warriors. So I believe he's going to be up for this game. And like I said, they're back home. They're versus the West because they haven't played the West at home for a while. They've been playing Eastern Conference teams. So this is a chance that they can get back on the winning streak. They're 10-5 at home versus the West, 4-1 in their last 5 games at home versus the West. And they won the turnover battle 4 out of the last 5 games versus the Western Conference. So if Portland wins the turnover battle, they're usually successful in that spot. So let's jump on the fact that the Warriors are 2-12 as a road dog, but they are 10-4 to the over as a road dog, which is number 1 in the NBA. Portland, the over has hit 4 out of the last 5 games at home versus the Warriors. So my play, Jimmy, first half over, full game over is what I'm going to play. I think a lot of points are going to be scored. I think Dame has about 35, close to 40 points. And I believe they're going to take advantage of Golden State not having their start, even though they still play well without Steph. They still can put up points, but I just believe Portland is going to be in a revenge spot, and they're going to be looking to get back on the winning streak, beating a rivalry team that they have history with. So Portland first half, full game over.
Let's lock it in for you, LJ. Spectacular job with your breakdowns. Very exciting watching you climb here in the sports gambling content industry. And you deserve all the opportunities that you are getting. First half over 120 at minus 105 and full game over. There's a 234 at minus 117, a 234.5 at minus 110. What would you prefer?
I'm sorry, say that again.
There's a 234 at minus 117 and a 234.5 at minus 110.
30.5 minus 110. Yeah.
234.5 at minus 110. Maybe it's the trade deadline. Situationally, if I wasn't looking at the market at all, I would be on the Blazers completely and totally here. I would be saying, yeah, let's see the Warriors do what they just did at home versus Thunder Monday. I have no expectation of them whatsoever. The problem is here is that there's big bets that have been placed on the under, and it just throws me for a loop. But I mean, it looks like the books have no fear of it, right? They dropped I guess we talked about it. It's dropped 2 points in the last 2 hours.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the only thing. So if I'm sitting here I despise trusting the Trailblazers defense.
Yeah.
But if I'm going to sit here and say I do not expect in a scenario change. Now, this did not work for me with Wake Forest against North Carolina. But if I'm going to sit here and say, yeah, they're going to shoot lights out here, really, at least in the first half after being so spectacular, they're going to do that again. I find that so difficult to believe. So difficult to believe that I would like to take a Warriors team total under first half.
Okay.
But I don't know if I can. I think that your breakdown was very sound, and but it also predicated on you trusting that the Dame was going to step up and the Blazers had an answer and things of that nature. And then the worst thing in the world is if I have to trust the Blazers defense, because when Blazers games go under, they go 4 for 23 from 3.
Yeah.
So
another team that depends on the 3 a lot, and they shoot it better at home. So that's why I'm trusting that they're going to put up points, because they play better at home, supposed to being on the road, and they're catching the Warriors vulnerable. They have history with this team. And Nurkic is still out of that middle lineup, so the Warriors can get paints inside. They can get easy buckets in the paint. So I see a lot of scoring. I see a fast-paced game. I see a lot of scoring. I think Portland is going to try to outscore the Warriors tonight in order to win this game. Because like you mentioned, the defense ain't going to be there. They're not going to be able to make stops in timely fashion. So they're going to have to outscore them. So the possessions are going to have to be up. They're going to put up a lot of threes. And they're going to try to jump on them quick and have a substantial lead going into that fourth quarter, where they could possibly hold on and win the game.
Huh. Oh, okay. A lot of love here in the chat for pool props. Danny Lopez looking at pool points per on assists. Keith Money looking at pool points over 24.5. Joe Chris looking at Hart points, rebounds, and assists under 23.5. Archie 20 took the pool over on points as well. Joe Chris leaning towards the Warriors plus 2.5. I'm going to need a little bit more time here, but our guy LJ has moved on the over. First half over 120 at minus 105. Full game over at 234.5 at minus 110. Let's review all NBA action with our guy and follow our guy on Twitter at LJ Sports Media. We start here. Oh, we wanted to revisit the Pistons Cavs. So why don't we just quickly do that now?
Yeah.
And see what changed here, because I know that you had a plan, and your plan was first quarter Cavs and the under. Let's go here. So what's happened with this is the line has gone to 11, so it's gone another half point. So if you did want the Cavs, it's good that we waited a little bit longer. And then totals wise, this is dropped. It was what was it when we started the show? It was at
223.
Yeah, it's now 222. So
I still believe it goes under. You can lock me in with the under.
The under. Okay, let's see.
Yeah.
I'm looking line shop here for you. This a full game under in Detroit, Cleveland, and it's dropping even fast. We can get you a 20 under 222, but there are 221.5 now on the board as well. So we'll get you the under 222 at minus 110. And did you still want the Cavs first quarter?
So the Mitchell and Garland haven't been ruled in, right? They're questionable.
I do not expect them. I don't know what to expect. How about I should leave it at that? They're not on the floor with the team. You know?
Yeah, let's scratch the first quarter. I don't know if they're playing. It's too early to make the decision. Like I said, if this rolled in later, then I'll bet it. But
tag me and we'll put it right on your record. So LJ on the under 222 at minus 110. So let's keep rolling. Swiss Horton in the house. Hornets and under. I'm interested in the Hornets Wizards game, but I do want a little bit more time. I do like the Sixers at plus 4.5. I wonder, is that changed here? Let's see. The Sixers right now are still 4.5. It's slightly juiced at a couple books to Boston, so I might wait, and I'm going to wait on all these. It's too chaos to give us that first half over 115.5. LJ's on the under 223.5 and Pacers Heat. I'm rolling with him on that one. I love the breakdown, love the look. Sammy Culmer's on the Pacers plus 7 at minus 108. LJ's on the Raptors first quarter minus 3.5. I'm thinking about the Raptors first half team total under 62.5 at minus 115. I just don't see this offense of rolling right now. And you come back from a long road trip. The trade deadline's 24 hours away. I just think there's other stuff on their minds right now, but we will see. LJ's on the Kings, Houston Rockets, first quarter under 62 at minus 110. Then he's on Utah first half at minus 2.5. And the first quarter over 56.5 in Mavericks Clippers. And then he's got the double up on the over. Blazers first half over 120, full game over 234.5. Dan Kelly says, I'll tell you this, from closely watching the Cavs, Mitchell missing shoot around means he's out. But that is not true with Garland. Good chance he plays for what it's worth. That is worth a ton. I'm certain one of them is out.
Yeah, I agree. One of them's going to be out.
LJ, spectacular job. LJ will be back in action with us again next Wednesday. Keep up the great work, my man, and thank you for sharing your hustle with us. Go out there and get that cash, and do follow LJ on Twitter at LJ Sports Media. LJ, any last words for the Cappers here supporting the show?
Hey, man, just keep following me, keep supporting. Shout out to the chat, Matt Stoney, of course, Rez Mob, Joe Chris, Dan Kelly, Christopher Carter, everybody that showed me love. I appreciate it. I do this every day. I try to give good looks. I want everybody to cash, because we're trying to get this money. Sports betting has changed my life, Jimmy. I have a legitimate hustle that I can make extra money with, and I enjoy it to the fullest. So let's keep getting it. And like I said, I will see you next Wednesday, and we're going to get some more cash in this NBA. So till then, sir, you have a good evening, and I will holler at you next Wednesday.
Oh, what a great guy. There he is, getting love here in the chat from Chris Carter, from Sammy Culmer, and from Equinimus, from Rez Mob. A lot of love for LJ. Mike M, Tongue Tied. it's really special what we're building here, and it's fun watching our guy LJ flourish here with the content. All right, we move on to college basketball, and we bring on your next, both LJ and your next guest are Texas strong, and you will see them at Pub-Up-Palooza, and I can't wait to see them, man. I miss these guys dearly. Please welcome to the show from Dallas, Texas, Daby Cab in the house. Daby, how are you, my man?
Oh, good, Jimmy. Good. Ready to get to work today, man. I see we got a great fucking chat out there. Shout out to Miss Hound. I can't wait to get together for the dinner in San Antonio. Then we got Wine Time out there, Mad Stoney, Dan Kelly, man. Everybody's here today, huh? Great fucking chat out there.
It is. And yeah, I'm excited, man. I'm excited for us all to be hanging here. Sammy says, I often think about how big PSR will be in a couple years. We hope so, man. But we're on the right track with everything we're doing right now. And Troy Torrance says, can you run through the games you got on the NCAA card? And we can make changes. And if people want certain games on badly, we can change things around. I try to touch more than just a couple conferences. And it is tricky with 10. But this is what our schedule is for Daby Cab and myself. We have Creighton, Seton Hall, Big East. Then we go to the Big 12 for Iowa State, West Virginia. Then we go to the ACC for Syracuse, Florida State. Then we head over to the CAA. And this was something I wanted. I wanted UNC, Wilmington, Charleston. I want teams that are playing really well in their conference because we're going to be capping their conference tournaments. And so I want to keep an eye on them. So we're in the MVC as well with Belmont, Missouri State. Then we have Notre Dame, Georgia Tech, Wisconsin, Penn State, Oklahoma, Baylor, Florida, Alabama. And we close in the Mountain West with San Diego State, Utah State. That is our plan of action. Daby Cab, or as Equinimous calls you, Sir Daby Cab. Let's get to work. We start at 6:30 p.m. Eastern, and I ended up 4-6 last night. I've got to, I think, cut down a little bit of my quantity of action.
God, you had so many bets, Jimmy.
Well, it's what we do and put all our time into it.
I know.
I don't. There's nothing wrong with it being high volume, but
how much was added after the show? Because I didn't feel like you walked away from the show with 10 bets, did you?
No, it was just that some of the spots like Kansas State and Kentucky, I was on the fence with, and I moved it. And it would have been a winning day. Rutgers, Indiana, that full game went under. When I watched the first half at Cincinnati Tulane, I was like, oh, that's going to be cash. Now, obviously, that second half, there's over 100 points scored.
Yeah, you can't overtime. I mean, that's where unders go to die. We all know that.
Yeah, but it was already dead
right
before overtime. It was dead. I'm happy I moved on Kansas State. But after all of this success, to be sitting here 81-71 with an ROI now of plus 1.91%, plus 2.9 units I'm upset. So let's turn it around right here, right now. And Virginia first half, there's some looks that were just perfect. Like finally having the faith in Kansas State, and I think Mike M really helped push me there. But let's not talk about yesterday. Let's talk about today's money. So let's get to work here. We start at 6:30 p.m. Eastern. The number 23 ranked Creighton Blue Jays, who, streaky group. Saw them lose, 6 weeks ago about. Now they've won 6 straight. 15-8, 9-3 in the Big East at Seton Hall Pirates, 15-9, 8-5 in the Big East. We're at Prudential Center in Newark, New Jersey. Let's go over to the line history here for this one and get the cash flow up. But Creighton, again, off their 6th straight win, 66-61 at home versus Villanova on Saturday, is 10.5-point favorites. So, didn't cover. This opened up with Creighton as minus 3-point favorites. But let's move over to BetOnline. I'll give you a better idea. Opened up at BetOnline minus 3.5 yesterday, 2:44 p.m. Got up to 4.5 and now sitting at 4. From a totals perspective, opened up at 135.5, and there's been a 9-cent move to the under. Now, this did drop to 134.5 for a little bit, but it's back at 135.5. Cash-wise here for this one, we have Creighton has been given line value from Sports Insights, 20% line value, 5,961 tickets in. But the big bets are coming in on Seton Hall. 40% of the tickets and 70% of the cash on Seton Hall. 60% of the tickets and 94% cash on the under. and it's not moving too far in either direction here. So take it away for us. Creighton, Seton Hall. Seton Hall comes in off their third straight win, 69-64 home versus DePaul on Sunday as 9.5-point favorites. So both teams are coming off home games against weak competition where they won and didn't cover. Take it away, Daby Cab, first game on the board.
Yeah, and Seton Hall even a little further back, their one blemish in their last 5 games was against Marquette. So that was in the prime of Marquette's firing away. They were hot as can be then. They had the win against UConn at home. Here's the thing. You look at this Seton Hall team, they're only putting up 69.4 points per game, 237th in the country, only shooting 44% from the field. That's 219th. Terrible from the free throw line, 67.7%, 295th. Terrible from the three-point line, 303rd in the nation, 31.7%. I mean, they're just across the board. They struggle on offense. Where they've made up for it is on defense. They're only giving up 64 points per game, which is good for 42nd in the country. But when you look at these two defenses and you break down the numbers on them, Seton Hall's giving up 93 points per 100 possessions, whereas Creighton's only giving up 93.4 per 100 possessions. So Creighton's defense is right there. And on offense, Creighton's been firing away, 76.8 points per game, 65th in the country. What we got to talk about, too, when we talk about Creighton's skid is they were injured, man. This team wasn't healthy. And now that this team's healthy, they're back to who we kind of thought they were. They're showing that they're who we thought they were. I like Creighton here. I took them in the first half. I tweeted it out at 1.5. I know you said the lines moved, but it's probably -2 right now or 2.5.
If you tweet it out, you can get whatever you tweeted out, though. That's the beauty of that. Let's see what it is right now for the first half, you're saying? First half?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to stay away from just sometimes at home. I just stay away from the full game when I'm just if I feel like I'm getting a low enough number on a team that I just find better, even if they're on the road, that's where bracket is in the first half.
First quarter -1.5 is available. Did you get the -110?
Yep.
Only available at Pinnacle right now. By the way, Sean Dozier, thank you for letting us know. Al Horford, Robert Williams now questionable for the Celtics. Damn, I imagine then the 4.5 will be good as gone. Lee Davis says, is this an under spot? Big bets coming in on the under at this point. Really big bets coming in on the under. And, it's fair. Let's see what Pinnacle has done with it. Has Pinnacle at least dropped this total? This total opened up at 135. They have. They've dropped it 1.5. Okay, that's better. Bet365 opened this up at 135.5. It's now sitting at 134.5. What can you answer Lee Davis's question? Mike M says, I like this under a lot. Is this an under spot, Daby Cab?
Yeah, I like the under here. Like I said, both of these defenses can play. Only way only way Seton Hall stays in this game, in my opinion, is with their defense, which I think their defense shows up. Again, just 1.5 in the first half. 20 minutes of basketball, you're asking, who do I think is going to be up? I think Creighton's going to be up by at least a bucket. So I like that first half bet.
Cab is on Creighton first half, and I think the under makes sense here in this Big East battle. That's Seton Hall. I do. Also at Prudential Center. I like it. I think I'm going to roll with you guys on the under. Mike M on it as well. Let's move over to the Big 12. Number 11 ranked Iowa State Cyclones, 16-6, 7-3 in conference. At West Virginia Mountaineers, 14-9, 3-7 in conference. We're in Morgantown, West Virginia for this one. Go over to the line history here. Move over here and grab it. God damn. Sorry, so many games today. Let's move over here. Here we go. We have West Virginia opening up as 3-point favorites. They're now 4-point favorites. Let's go over to Bet Online. See what they did. They opened up Virginia -2.5. So they opened up West Virginia -2.5, now -3.5. Let's focus there. They opened up West Virginia -2.5, and they got all the way up to 4.5. So let's only focus on Bet Online moves in college. And my fault because it goes to Pinnacle right away, and I've got to switch that up. And I will. This total opened up at 136.5 and has dropped to 135. Let's take a look at the cash flow for this one, and we have slight line value towards Iowa State. 10,674 tickets in. Slight line value to Iowa State, but no one's betting them. 82% of the tickets and 94% of the cash is on West Virginia. And then 17% of the tickets and 34% of the cash is on the under. I find that fascinating that the public's all over the over, and yet this total is dropping. Take it away for us here at Daby Cab, Iowa State, West Virginia.
What the betting market is doing is accounting for Iowa State at home versus on the road. It's just not the same team. It's not the same thing. Their last 3 road games, shout out to Troy bringing it up in the chat, talking about that loss against Tech. We all saw what happened there. 28 or 23-point melt with like 10 minutes left or something like that. Lost to Missouri on the road, 61-78. Lost to Oklahoma State on the road, 59-61. And then, you talk about liking to fade teams right after they have a big marquee win. That Kansas win was, even though it was at home, it was still that. Man, I can go into a lot of the different numbers on here, but what Iowa State's offense is so hit or miss, man. We see this offense just turn off. They're only putting up 70.7 points per game, which is 201st in the country. Their free throws, terrible, 326 in the nation, 66%. From 3, they're all right, little above average. But really, this Iowa State team, I feel like this is just a team that you just roll with at home, and on the road, you either fade them or stay the fuck away from them. So I can't be mad at anyone that's betting West Virginia here. I totally understand.
And I didn't set it up, my fault, but Daby Cab did mention it. West Virginia coming off their 3rd win in 4 games. It was a 93-61 beatdown of Oklahoma at home on Saturday, 6-point favorites. Iowa State snapped their 2-game losing streak with a very impressive 68-53 win at home over Kansas on Saturday's 1.5-point dogs. So Troy Torrance said, I'd be more upset if I bet West Virginia and Iowa State covers than if I don't bet it and West Virginia covers. So he's off. Mo Harris liking West Virginia, but scared to take them because everybody is on them. At least the line moved in their direction.
Right.
All
I can say is if you are betting Iowa State, personally, I'd take the points in the first half. We saw what happened in the second half against Tech, and then I can't stress enough, they suck at the free throw line. 326 in the country is not good. So, free throws, I'm not saying that they'll be the one shooting to keep the lead at the end of the game. I'm just saying there's usually more free throws at the end of the game, and I don't like teams that can't shoot from the charity stripe.
83% of tickets are on the over in this basketball game, and the total has dropped at every single book across America. I just feel like it's screaming that this is going to be, a intense, highly contested basketball game that will lead towards the under. I can't help but notice that, and I think I'm going to trust it here. All right. And Wine Time says, I'll never forget that Texas Tech comeback against Iowa State. Wine Time is on West Virginia in this one, but says this line is fishy. North End said, I've been back in the Cyclones a lot. I like this team. I just lost it there. Sorry. I like this team. Line says West Virginia here. It does. I guess it does. 94% of the cash is on West Virginia. And we saw buyback at some of these books.
I'm not mad at Iowa State first half as a bet, actually, the more I say it and think about it. But this is kind of like that A&M game yesterday versus Auburn. I liked Auburn first half, and I liked A&M full game. I feel the same way here. I kind of like Iowa State first half, and I like West Virginia full game.
Well, I think the under is what I'm going to be rolling with. Let's move over to the ACC. 7 p.m. Eastern. Syracuse Orange, 14-10, 7-6 in conference at the Florida State Seminoles, 8-16, 6-7 in conference. Donald L. Tucker Center in Tallahassee, Florida. Syracuse snapped their 3-game losing streak in a 77-68 win at Boston College on Saturday's 3.5-point favorites. Florida State snapped their 3-game losing streak with an 81-78 win at Louisville on Saturday as 5-point favorites. Take a look at the line history here for this one. Get it up here on the board. ACC action, Syracuse, Florida State. And this is another tight line. We have Syracuse opening up as 2-point favorites. They're now 3.5-point favorites. See what that's a Pinnacle. Bet Online opened this up, same thing, 2 and 3.5. And totals wise is opened up at 150. And it initially went up all the way to 151.5. It has since dropped to 149.5. Shogun Soup says, I love this under in Florida State, Syracuse. Troy Torrance says Florida State 1-5 is a home underdog, but 4-2 against the spread. Take a look at the cash flow for this one. Syracuse, Florida State, 1,987 tickets in. 42% of the tickets, 65% of the cash is on the Orange. Then 58% of tickets and 67% of the cash is on the under. Seems like some big bets have come in on the under, and the markets have reacted. And then spread-wise, money's coming in on Syracuse, and the market's reacted there. Take it away for us, Daby Cab. ACC action, Syracuse, Florida State.
Yeah, I agree with both of those. I mean, so this is one of those games where I know a lot of times I'll give numbers or matchups, but we got to talk about what Syracuse is going to do here. Their defense is going to be that 2-3. It's unique. And they're going to force Florida State to shoot, to take three-pointers, which Florida State can't do. 217th in scoring offense right now. And on defense, Florida State, 326 in scoring defense, 328 in three-point defense. They're not good. And they're going against a Syracuse team who's 49th in field goal percentage at 47.1%. They make their free throws 73.5%. And then from deep, 71st in the country, hitting a 36.2% of their shots. I think this lines up to be, I just don't think Florida State's going to be able to shoot it with Syracuse. And that's what this is going to be. They're going to force Florida State to shoot threes, and they're going to shoot threes themselves. And I don't think Florida State can do that.
I like the breakdown. I think it all correlates with my expectations in this game. I guess the problem is Troy Torrance's look about Florida State 1-5 as a home underdog, but 4-2 against the spread. Lee Davis says Syracuse 10-3 to the over versus conference opponents. So maybe if Lee Davis likes a trend that has this game going over, then maybe we could just focus on Florida State team total under. We know that they're going to have difficulty shooting over the zone. Let's just see what it would be here quickly, what that team total would be. What do you think of that, Cab, if there is a trend with Syracuse going over in these conference games, just focusing on Florida State not getting to the number? You're muted, my man.
Shit. I was doing so well. I know I like it, man. I think they're going to be forced to take shots outside, like I was saying, and which is not something that Florida State is necessarily good at doing. And also their defense is terrible. So you're taking out that factor out of the under too.
Okay. I am interested in it. But here we go. Finally got to, okay. Let's just see what that would be. That would be, Florida State at 70. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Of course. This is at my book, the team total under Florida State is minus 150 to the under 74.5. So I have to go into alternative team totals, and they're not giving me them. They're giving me a 64.5 and an 84.5.
What the fuck?
They're going to go under.
What is that kind of shit right there? That's a huge difference.
That's just a book not giving
you're
you.
You're not getting a normal number. Is that what you just said?
Yeah, but I wonder what let's just see what Pinnacle is doing on this, because if Pinnacle is doing a similar thing where it's just heavily juiced, then I'm going to. Well, I guess I don't know what I'm going to do. I guess I'll bet the under in the basketball game. I guess. That's wild. When books just add juice to a spot, you know they just don't want you to bet it.
That's like I said. I think this defense is really going to throw Florida State off tonight.
The team total at Pinnacle 73.5, and it's minus 120 to the under. Yeah, they are telling you what's going to happen. All right, I'm on Syracuse and possibly the under, but I will definitely be on Syracuse. By the way, talking about the books have the over 75.5 for Syracuse. We've already heard. Maybe I should just stay off. Maybe I'm screwed here with the team total and can just take Syracuse. And maybe that's what I'll end up doing, because you have a look from Lee Davis with a trend of Syracuse going overs in 10 of their last 13. And Syracuse's team total at 75.5 is minus 140 to the over. This is just telling me Syracuse is going to cover. I'm going to take off the under.
That makes sense.
And I'm only going to be on Syracuse here. Okay. And Troy Torrance says, I'm going to completely ignore the sharp action unless the market is moving with it. Seems.
And you're just going to go full game with it on the 3.5?
Yeah, I'm just going to go full game with it on the 3.5. I think you've nailed it, Troy. I think that's exactly what we have to do. Now, if it's a dog and the bigger, like the tickets are all on the favorite, and we perceive the sharp money's on the dog, and the line isn't moving at all, I think that's enough for us to trust the dog, but that doesn't, I think it's simpler the way you said it, Troy, because we saw it in the Lakers game last night. All the sharp action was on Oklahoma City, and the line wasn't moving off the 6.5, and then it moved a half point towards the Lakers about an hour and a half, 2 hours before game time. And OKC comfortably won. So it's still a tricky thing deciphering the market, but I agree with you. That's the easiest situation that Troy's talking about. If the sharp action's on the side and the market's moving with it, that's pull the trigger. I completely agree. Let's move on. I'm going to be on Syracuse here in this one. We move on to the CAA. UNC Wilmington Seahawks 19-6, 9-3 in conference. Charleston Cougars 22-3, 10-2 in conference. And those two losses came recently. They just snapped out of it. They snapped their 2-game losing streak with an 84-67 win at Delaware Saturday, 7-point favorites. Let's take a look at the action here, at least the line history for this one. UNC Charleston. Here we go. Charleston opening up as 9.5-point favorites, and that's where they are right now. There's been a 3-cent move towards them at Pinnacle. At Bet Online, it's opened up at 9.5. There's been no movement at all. So very clear, sharp line here. This total at Bet Online opened at 141.5 and is up to 144. So it's climbed 2.5 points to 144. Let's go over to the cash flow here with UNC Charleston. See what we're dealing with. We have, where the hell is it? Sorry, taking me a second. I'll Command F, Charleston. Here we go. 2,038 tickets in, and it's all on Wilmington. So here's a perfect example, and this will be one of the things we want to keep an eye on. 65% of the tickets, and UNC Wilmington is a public dog. 96% of the cash is on Wilmington, and this line is not moving at all. 58% of the tickets, 86% of the cash on the over. The line's moving quickly towards the over, but it has hit that 2.5-point threshold. Seahawks coming off their 4th straight win, 70-63 at William & Mary, 6.5-point favorites. TD Arena in Charleston, South Carolina. Take it away, Wilmington, Charleston.
Man, that talking about the line makes me want Charleston here. I don't get it. I don't understand the love for Wilmington in this spot. I mean, I guess it's because the first meeting between these two teams was a 2-point game. Charleston won by 2, but it was on the road, and at home they're a different beast. At home, this team is 13-1 right now, and they've got wins against Richmond, Davidson, Kent State, Virginia Tech, all which should be quote unquote steps up in class. Charleston at home is not something you want to go against. They're putting up 79.8 points per game this year, which is good for 26 and effective scoring offense. They're getting 40.4 rebounds per game, which is 5th. They move the ball, which I love to see. They're only giving up 68.8 points per game, which is above average at 162nd. I got to go back to the fact that the first meeting was a 2-point game. That's the only reason I can imagine people are hopping on UNC here. Seahawks, 240th in scoring offense, 244th on the boards. So I think they should get stomped here on the boards. I like Charleston here. I haven't bet it, but I might.
This feels like Charleston's going to take care of business, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Now, I'm just going to stay. I hate when I get, like too cute with this spot here, because and I start diving. It's like sort of what we were doing with the LeBron prop, because here, do I really want to go up against all these people on UNC Wilmington? And I don't know if I do. I really don't. I think I'd prefer just to. 35% of the tickets and 4% of the cash is on Charleston. So, yeah, I can say the line's not moving and Charleston should be the play, but I do not. Lee Davis liking the under, aligned with Nunya. This is up to 145 now at Pinnacle. Up to 145. This is going to be a stay-off spot. This is a tricky one, and it looks like I'm going to have a nice amount of action already here. Let's move on. Head over to the MVC. Belmont Bruins 17-8, 10-4 in conference. At the Missouri State Bears 12-12, 8-6 in conference. We're at Great Southern Bank Arena in Springfield, Missouri. Take a look at the line history here for this one and the cash flow. Move over here. We go. Belmont, Missouri State. Missouri State opening up at -1.5 at Pinnacle. There's been a 7-cent move towards them. Over at Bet Online, it's moved a half point towards Missouri State. Totals wise, it's opened up at 137. There's been a 5-cent move to the over. Take a look at the cash flow here. And to the old that's Mississippi State. Let's get over to Missouri State and can't find it. This is very aggravating. Let me switch something up here. Let's go Belmont, of course. So let's go BLM, and that will find it here. And it's not BEL. Okay, I'm going to stop this. I'll come back to where the cash is. Belmont snapped their 2-game losing streak with a 90-75 win at home over Illinois State on Saturday. It's 10.5-point favorite. It's a cupcake situation. Missouri State comes in off its second loss in 3 games, 73-53 at Southern Illinois on Sunday, 6-point dogs. I felt like this was a nice bounce back opportunity for Missouri State, but I do want to find the cash flow, which I will find here in a second. While I am looking for it, why don't you take it away for us, Daby? Oh, is that it? I got it right here. Okay. 2,190 tickets in. There is line value on Missouri State, and there's sharp action on them. 42% of the tickets, 86% of the cash. Then 90% of the tickets, 96% of cash on the over, and that total is not moved. But I think this is a Missouri State spot here, and I'd like to move on them. Take it away for us here, Cab, Belmont, Missouri State.
Yeah, this one's interesting, man. Missouri State's offense is just, not good this year. 65.7 points per game, but then on defense, they've been outstanding, only giving up 63.6 points per game. That's the 36th best defense in the country. When you look at recent trends, though, Belmont 8-2 against the spread last 10. Missouri State 5-5 last 10. Belmont's putting up 76.8 points per game here. 75 points per game. In their last five games, they put up 76.8 points per game, where on the other side, the Bears have only put up 62.2. So those offenses have been trending in opposite directions. I guess I can see the bounce back spot here, but I kind of thought there was value in the half a point or point in Belmont in the first half, but I'm not betting this game. I've got action that I'm going to add at the end, by the way. So.
Cool. Sounds good. We'll be all ears. I am going to move on Missouri State here. This is the type of spot that I really love. You have a team with a better record coming off a cupcake victory at home, going out on the road against a team that desperately needs a victory, coming off a 20-point loss to a better team on the road. I'm moving on it. I'm moving on Missouri State full game here. And I'll look if Belmont is ahead of the half. I may look to live bet the Bears. Again, I need to be watching. Let's keep rolling. Next up for us, 7 p.m. Eastern, the Notre Dame Fighting Irish, 10-13, yet to win a game on the road this season. At the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets, 8-15, just a game over 500 at home at the McCamish Pavilion in Atlanta, Georgia. Let's take a look at the line history for this one. God, I should be getting better at this. And here we go. Notre Dame, Georgia Tech. So many games. I'm starting to get better at finding these stupid games. Georgia Tech opening up at +1. There's been a 4-cent move towards Notre Dame at Pinnacle. At Bet Online, Georgia Tech opened up at +2 and moved to +1. So there's been a 1-point move towards Georgia Tech. Totals wise, it's opened up at 138, and that's exactly where it stands. Excuse me. And then here we have 1,503 tickets in. 58% of the tickets, 94% of the cash is on Georgia Tech. 50-50 for the total, and we don't have a cash flow. It's a lot of money to be on Georgia Tech and for the line not to move there.
I can't help it. All I heard was that this game has less bets on it than the Belmont game. That's how fucking bad these teams are.
It is. I thought that we might find an angle here. Notre Dame comes in off its 5th loss in 6 games, 81-64 at home to Wake Forest on Saturday's 3-point dogs. You want to talk about how bad they are? They lost by 17 points at home, and they only turned the ball over 4 times. That's just unbelievable. They shot 38% from the field, 19% from 3. Georgia Tech comes in off its 9th straight loss, 72-64 at NC State as 15-point dogs. I think I don't want to get too caught up in trying to catch a falling knife but I wanted to move on Georgia Tech in this basketball game. Georgia Tech has to come in thinking this is our chance to stop the streak. This is our chance to get a win here at home. This is our chance to show something here against a team that hasn't won on the road all year long. Shogun Soup says over. Mike M says over. Mike M says Notre Dame and over school. And Alfred says, give me Notre Dame for its first road win. North End says, yep, bum fight. Mike M says, I think Notre Dame was only down 1 at the half last game too, then rolled over and puked the ball sack up. Interesting. Parlay Street says Georgia Tech playing the better ball. My whole plan, the reason why I put this game in was because I thought I foresee an angle on Georgia Tech. Let's hear what Daby Cab has to say. Fighting Irish against the Yellow Jackets.
Yeah, I'm not going to talk you off Georgia Tech here. When you look at this Notre Dame team putting up 70.4 points per game, pretty bad. The only thing that they do well is shoot 3-pointers. 36.7% from the deep. But the problem is their defense, they allow opponents to shoot 46.8% and 34.9% from deep. So basically they give it right back up on defense. They don't cover the perimeter. They're allowing opponents to shoot 46.8%, which is terrible. And you said it, Georgia Tech, they've lost 9 straight, right? So this is it. I mean, this is their chance. They got that 0-5 Notre Dame team coming in on the road here. Georgia Tech's offense, just a little bit below Notre Dame, 67.1 points per game, 299th in the country. Not that good. They give up 71.2 points per game, but they have a good 3-point defense. And if I just said one thing, it's that the only thing Notre Dame does is shoot threes. I think that Georgia Tech will be able to close out here. And if you can get Notre Dame, making them take some uncomfortable shots, I think this is a spot where Georgia Tech could cash.
So do I, and I understand the idea here with Mike. I'm saying this could very well be the spot where Notre Dame gets a conference road win. It just feels like Georgia Tech played pretty well against NC State on Saturday. And can you imagine a team being so bad that at home you only turn the ball over 4 times and you get blown out by 17? I'm with Parlay Streets. I do, and said Georgia Tech also played NC State so well last game. I wanted to do this, and I love bum fights. And when I see a small market and tickets because of a bum fight, that makes me want to dive deeper into fucking bum fights. So I'm going to move on Georgia Tech here as a slight home dog. My guy Parlay Streets. All right, let's keep rolling here. Next up for us, 8:30 p.m. Eastern, and we head over to the Big Ten. Wisconsin Badgers playing some bad basketball right now. 13-9, 3-4 on the road at the Penn State Nittany Lions. 14-9, 11-1 at home. Penn State and Wisconsin each 5-7 in conference, but we're in the Bryce Jordan Center in University Park, Pennsylvania. Let's take a look at the line history here for Wisconsin Penn State and make a move here. This game pops off at 8:30 p.m. We've just run through all of those 7 o'clock games. It'll be easier to find these ones because of it. Go over the line history, and here we go. I'm not going to bother with Pinnacle. Let's just go right to BetOnline. BetOnline opened this up at 4.5. It's now at 4. That's the same thing that's at Pinnacle. Totals wise, it's opened up at 128 and it's dropped a 1.5 to 126.5, but it hasn't really. I think this is what really has happened. It dropped all the way down to 125.5 at 10 p.m. last night. It is listed at 126.5, but that's minus 120 to the under. The only reason why that's interesting, actually, and we need to talk about it, is because it was minus 130 to the under 126.5. So they were giving that plus 110 to the over 126.5. So they were looking for over money, and they got a little bit of it. Take a look at the cash flow here for this one. Wisconsin game here. Let me get it up here. Sorry, I'm going to have to do this again. Here we go. 4,178 tickets in. 62% of the tickets and 76% of the cash is on Penn State. 62 and 76 is on Penn State. And the market's gone a half point towards whiskey. That's confusing. And then you have 90% of the tickets and 87% of the cash on the over. It's a lot of money on the over for this total to be dropping the way it is. Whiskey comes in off their 4th loss in 5 games, 54-52 at home versus Northwestern Sunday as 3.5-point favorites. Penn State comes in off its second straight loss and third in 4 games. 72-63 at Nebraska on Sunday as 5-point favorites. Take it away, Daby Cab, Wisconsin, Penn State.
Man, this game has 65-60 written all over it. I'm just saying. Man, this Wisconsin, like you said, not just bad basketball late, just bad basketball. This team sucks on offense. 335th, putting up 64.5 points per game. In field goal percentage, they're 317th, 41.7%. Free throw percentage, they're 336th at 65%. So literally, like across the board, even from the free throw line, they fucking suck. What Wisconsin does is plays defense. It's what we'll see with a lot of these teams that can't shoot. They're 27th on defense, allowing 62.7 points per game. So pretty good. But this Penn State team is in a unique position right now. I think that they still have a path to the tournament. They just need to start winning games right now. And this is something that you'll hear me bring up, like certain matchups, but it's important. It's one of the most important things, like what these kids have to play for or don't have to play for. Penn State is still playing to get into the tournament. They're good on offense, 26th in adjusted offense efficiency, 16th in effective field goal percentage. On defense, they're allowing 67.4 points per game. But like I just said, I think that this is just a situational spot for Penn State. They still have something to play for, and Wisconsin's offense has been terrible. So I like Penn State here. I just haven't bet it. The line feels fishy to me on this one.
Well, it certainly does. Certainly does. You'd think that 90% of the cash being on Penn State with a decent sample size of tickets that the market will move towards them, which it's not. And the same thing with the total. 90% of tickets, 87% of cash on the over. They drop it down to 126.5 and give you a plus money spot to get more money on the over. You know, it tells me it's going to go under.
65-60.
Well, that would be a sweat. It's at 125. It's at 125.
Hey, but a win's a win, right?
Yeah, but is it worth the sweat? I don't know. Res Mob, you're absolutely right there. I like that. Lady bum fights. Most female bums aren't called ladies, so you're a good man, Res. I don't think I'm going to move on this, but I will do this. If this total climbs, actually, I don't want it to climb again. I think part of the appeal here is how low it is because all the money's coming in on the over and it's dropped so low. I think that's part of the appeal. I don't know if I can do it. I'm going to put question marks beside it, but this is a under spot for me. Dana Delp saying Penn State is tough at home. 11-1 at home. All the tickets on them. Why is the number not moving towards them? It's a good question.
Also, Jalen Pickett. I'm not going to go into his numbers too much, but he's a legit star. I mean, he's an NBA player for Penn State.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I end up pulling the trigger, but let's move on. Let's get back to Texas here and talk about the Baylor Bears. We move back to the Big 12 here. Oklahoma Sooners 12-11 in conference. They are 2-8 on the road. They are 1-5. Baylor Bears 17-6 in conference. They are just 6-4. A bit of surprise, and 11-2 at home. We're in Waco, Texas for this one. Let's get right into the line history here. We'll move over to Bet Online. And we have Baylor opening up at -9.5. They got up to -10.5. So the initial move, the very first move, and we always want to know what that is because we have a feeling like that's the sharpest money. So obviously it's pros who are waiting for the line to be dropped and betting it the day before. This opened up at 9.5 and it immediately went to 8.5. So it immediately went towards Oklahoma. Then in the next 5 hours, it moved 2 points towards Baylor. Baylor became 10.5-point favorites. And then again, it moved 1.5 down to 9. And those bets coming in, it moved to 9 at 2:09 in the morning. If you think about a 2:09 in the morning market move, you can expect that is probably, I don't mean to glory or romanticize what we do, but you'd think that's probably syndicate money coming out of Europe. I mean, who else is betting at 2:09 in the morning enough to move a line that big? Then it goes back to 10.5, which this kind of messes with the whole stupid syndicate Europe, stupid romanticized angle, because at 5:20 in the morning, it moved to 10.5. So it was just stupid. I shouldn't mention it. But we're sitting at 9.5 right now, right where it started. totals wise here, opened up at 141 and has dropped to 140. Syndicates or American drinks or American drunks. Well, drunks, same thing. And let's move over to the cash flow here for Oklahoma Baylor. Let me get this here. Baylor. Here we go. 5,732 tickets in. 5,732 tickets in. They've given Baylor slight line value here, but the sharp or bigger bets have come in on Oklahoma. 35% of tickets, 57% of the cash. Then 56% of tickets, 75% of cash on the under. So the bigger bets are coming in on the under. The bigger bets are coming in on Oklahoma. Oklahoma coming in off its second straight loss and fifth in their last 6 games. And it was ugly. We talked about it already. It was a 93-61 setback at West Virginia on Saturday, 6-point dogs. Baylor bounced back from their 76-71 loss at Texas. That was on Monday, January 30th. So that was 9 days ago. By beating up on Texas Tech at home, 89-62 on Saturday, is 9.5-point favorites. Take it away for us here, Daby Cab, Sooners, Bears.
Yeah. Baylor has been one of those teams that, early on in the season with some injuries, people kind of were jumping off of, and I've been back on board with them recently. Oklahoma, 67.8 points per game, 278th in the country. They're good on defense, though. They're giving up 66.3 points per game, and we know defense will travel 88th in scoring defense. They have such a slow pace of play. And you look at Baylor, 78.9 points per game, which is 32nd. They move the ball well, which is one of my favorite things. I hate teams that are low on assist. Baylor's putting up 15.4 assists per game, good for 44th, and they're allowing 69 points per game. So they're a little above average on defense. They have 4 players averaging double figures. That's what you get with these assists. That's what you get moving the ball. And you look at Baylor, 11-2 at home this season. Oklahoma, 1-5 on the road. I know 9.5 feels like a large number, especially in this competitive conference, but I don't see any reason why Baylor can't cover that today.
Yeah, I understand. I think part of the issue is that Oklahoma was just so embarrassed, but they're on the road against a tough Baylor team who hasn't been very good in conference, so Baylor has a lot to fight for. Jason Falk says Jose jinxed Oklahoma a while back. We don't believe in that. Are you confident enough to bet Baylor?
No, I'm going to join you on the Syracuse bet, though. I've been turning that around in my head since we went over it. I know that's a step back, but you don't have to do it right now. I'll add it at the end for you.
Okay, cool. We'll do that. What do you think about the under here? Oklahoma just got embarrassed. They have to be playing with a higher intensity.
If you like the under, and I feel like I might have talked you off Oklahoma here, which I haven't bet it, so I don't mean to do that because I don't like talking people off dogs. If you like the under, I can kind of see you leaning Oklahoma also. Oklahoma's got a good defense, a very good defense, and they're going to slow the pace of play down as much as possible to try and stay in this game.
Yeah, you're right. They are. And Baylor will keep coming at you, and I guess that would leave a first half under as the more appealing spot for me. Would you feel that would be a more appealing spot, that Baylor will just run them down late or could run them down late?
Yeah, this is one where I'd be. That's kind of what I agree with that.
First half under. I'm interested in first half under. Okay, let's roll on here to. We have 2 games left on the board. The next game for us is back in the SEC. Florida Gators at Alabama Crimson Tide. Anyone who has sports insights can be legitimately confused here because they've given Alabama slight line value and then they've given Florida full line value. So that doesn't make much sense. But Florida's being bet. 66% of the tickets and 97% of the cash is on Florida. Then 85% of the tickets and 79% of the cash is on the under. Let's go down to the line history and see if that is being followed here. Florida on the road at the number 3 ranked Alabama Crimson Tide. Alabama opening up at 9.5. They're now at 10. That's at Penny. Go over to Bet Online, and they open up at 9.5, and they're at 10. But they got down to 8 at 5 in the morning. They got down to 8. They're back at 10. And we know that the bigger bets have come in on Florida. This total opened up at 145.5, shot all the way up to 148.5. So a 3-point move towards the over here. So a big move towards the over. And all the bets have come in on the under. That's confusing. Very confusing. Florida comes in off its second loss in 3 games, 72-67 at Kentucky on Saturday's 4.5-point dog, 6-4 in conference. Going up against Alabama, who is yet to lose in the SEC this year, coming off their 11th win in 12 games, 79-69 at LSU on Saturday's 11.5-point favorites. Take it away for us here, Florida, Alabama.
Man, Alabama is just not one of those teams I like going against, but I definitely understand the love for Florida in this spot. When you look at, like you called it out, the Kentucky loss, they barely lost to Kentucky, and that was following up a win against Tennessee. This Florida team, their record can be a little deceiving because I think this team's for real. I think they're better than their record says. They're putting up 71.3 points per game, 183rd. They shoot 43.4%, which is a little below average. But you flip it. And you look at what they've been doing on defense. This team's been great on defense. Florida makes their free throws, and I can't stand it when teams don't make their free throws. But they're going against an Alabama team that's number 1 in adjusted tempo. This Alabama team pushes the ball hard. And that's what scares me so much about Alabama is if you even leave just a little bit of breathing room, this team is going to put their foot down on your throat. And that's why, personally, I haven't bet it, but I completely understand why people are taking Florida in this spot.
So do I, and there's a lot of money coming in on Florida. What I don't understand is why the market moves back to Alabama.
It's what I said, because at putting this at 8, man, that's, I don't know. That's a toss-up, or wherever you said it got down to. That's, I don't know, 10, I don't know. Alabama, just their tempo is so aggressive, and their offense is so potent that at any point in time, it can just implode on anybody.
I'm going to stay off of that spot. Looks like I have a nice amount of action in college basketball and don't need to reach. Let's move on to the final game on the college basketball slate, our final game of the show. And our coin currency play of the day, our guy Coin, has given us Utah State money line already, a spot that I do want to back badly. So we close up shop here in the Mountain West, where these teams are up at the top of the standing. San Diego State 9-2 in conference. Utah State 8-3 in conference. Number 25 ranked San Diego State Aztecs 18-5 are 5-1 on the road. They've traveled well. Utah State Aggies 19-5, 11-1 in Logan, Utah at the D. Glenn Smith Spectrum. Let's take a look at the line history here for this one. Final game on today's show. Thank you guys so much for rolling with us here on Pub Sports Radio. San Diego State, Utah State. We have Utah State opening up at -1.5 and now -2 at Pinnacle. And then over at Bet Online, they open up at -1 and they're -2. Total wise, open up at 147 and it's dropped to 145.5. And that's the second time it's done that. It went down to 145.5, climbed back up to 147, and then dropped again to 145.5. Nunya says Utah State might end up sneaking into a parlay for me. One of the things that's making me nervous right now is all day, all we've gotten from anybody is Utah State. And it doesn't seem to work well when we're all completely on the same side. But at least the market's moving towards Utah State. Let's take a look at the cash flow for this one. If it's it is 84% of the tickets and 93% of the cash is on Utah State. 73% of tickets, 65% of cash on the over, and we've seen it drop 1.5 points. System play on Utah State, says Lee Davis. Troy Torrance says San Diego State is not being good in this spot as a road underdog. And Mike M says the entire planet is on Utah State. Yeah. Now, we have cashed these bets before where we're all on the one side, but clearly our ROI is negative. And DC Capper's also on Utah State. San Diego State comes in off its 5th win in 6 games, 72-52 at home over an undermanned Boise State squad Friday, 6.5-point favorites. Utah State comes in off its 3rd straight win, 88-79 at Colorado State Saturday's 4.5-point favorites. Dabra Cadabra, final game on the board, San Diego State, Utah State.
Yeah, and final one on the board, but I got one for you after this that I'm going to add to it if that's cool. But Utah State, their 3-game win streak is coming off right after losing by 10 points at San Diego State. So that's one thing that we want to put out there. It was a 75-85 loss for them on the road to San Diego State. initially, yeah, I want to get behind Utah State too. I've been cashing Utah State first half tickets this year. I don't know if it was you, Jimmy, or somebody, but somebody got me this team, and I've kind of been rolling with them. And I've had success with them, but I don't know if this is the spot here. San Diego State struggles a little bit on offense, only putting up 69.8 shots per game. So that's slow. They're not putting up a bunch of shots. And you look at Utah State, 14-9 ATS. So I get the love here for them. Last game, they had that shooting that you want to fade, I guess, that you want to watch out for. 58.6% of their shots in the second half, which is just lights out. I mean, they weren't missing. I don't know what it is about this game, but it has the makings for me to be a San Diego State spot. I mean, I hate to say that, especially after all the Utah State love, but I'm not betting this game, so it doesn't matter what I say. This game, something about it just turns me off.
Lee Davis leaning to the over as well. And Leonard Porch with a good point. We were all on Denver first quarter yesterday, and that cashed very easily.
We were all on Indiana yesterday, I felt like.
I wish I was. I want Utah State here. I do, and I mean, should I be so? I mean, these home dogs against ranked opponents. We know they just cash at a high.
Not a dog, are they?
Sorry. Oh, sorry. You're right. 2-point favorites. You're right. And even that situation, the ranked team being an underdog against is another. I mean, so many angles here on this.
I love this Utah State team, man. Assists are one of my favorite things in college basketball, and they're averaging 17.4 assists per game, which is 8th in the country. They don't turn the ball over. Like I said, I really like Utah State, and this could be a revenge spot if you want to say that. They're coming home to get. I mean, in their last 5 games, the only team they've lost to is San Diego State.
Well, I'd plan to be on Utah State. I don't know now. I'm gonna take a little bit more time. I do love these late night games for when I'm capping the following day to kind of have some skin in the game. I don't know what to do here. I'm going to put a bunch of question marks beside Utah State. Troy Torrance says Utah State looks primed to make a run. Let's go over to Daby Cab wanting to add a couple spots here. Take it away. Floor is yours.
Got you. Okay, so this first one, I'm looking at this Temple SMU game. I got in on Temple pretty early here. This is a Temple team that in their last 5 games, the only loss they have against anybody is Houston. And that was coming off of a home win against Houston. They beat Houston just 4 games ago and then turned around and lost. So their last game, they lost to Houston 65-81. But before that, they were on a 4-game winning streak with the win against Houston, which is about as big as it gets. And you look at this SMU team, these two teams are heading in complete opposite directions. SMU has 1 win in their last 5 games. It was over South Florida. It's about as low as it.
We have Frozen Dabra Cadabra here. We'll get him back once we see movement. I see no movement at this point. Speaking of this spot, there's been there's been no movement. There's been a 5-cent move towards SMU at BetOnline. There's been a half-point move towards SMU at Pinnacle. And SMU has just 39% of the tickets, but 77% of the cash. So this one would not be one that I would just straight tail from Dabra Cadabra. Jason Folk says, wasn't Nevada, New Mexico the nightcapper last night? And you're right. And it did not work out well for me here. Troy Torrance says, Temple undefeated straight up and against spread on the road in the first half. SMU 0-4 is an underdog. Robert Franklin on Temple. I've heard a few different cappers on Temple, and I'm just not going to go up against what I perceive as sharp action here. So we're going to put a bow on this show. But anything Daby Cab wants to tweet out, we can put that on his official record here. Smith Legacy's got to roll Memphis over 155.5. Winthrop over 142.5. And let's review all action here. So I imagine he's going to be on Temple, but I'll wait. Maybe I could just see it on his tweet. So let me just move over to Daby Cab, and then I'll have his official action here. Daby Cab is on Creighton first half minus 1.5 at -110. Memphis first half -3 at -118. And Temple first half -0.5 at -112. So I will copy and paste that for our Dabra Cadabra. For me, I'm going to be on the first half under in Oklahoma Baylor. I may be on the under in Wisconsin Penn State. Maybe. I'm going to be on Georgia Tech, Missouri State, and Syracuse. Going to be on the under in Iowa State, West Virginia, and the under in Creighton Seton Hall. That is my action in college basketball. Looks like we got Daby Cab back in action here. So Daby Cab, jump on for us. I did go over to your Twitter to look at your final spots. So you have
I was just talking, and I didn't even know. I didn't even know I had been kicked out of the StreamYard. I could have been back a long time ago. I was just fucking going and going and going, man. Damn.
I'm sure you were waxing eloquently. Temple first half -0.5 at -112. The only information, and you keep rolling with this spot that you're on. Lee Davis saying Temple 5-1 against the spread on the road. SMU 2-8 against the spread versus conference. Every single stat here has Temple. It gives Temple an edge, except for the fact that it's moved a half point at Pinnacle towards SMU, and we have just 38% of the tickets on SMU, but 73% of the cash. That makes me a little nervous, but I'd love to hear your just continued thoughts here on Temple.
Yeah, I don't even know where I got cut off. Did I get anything out, or was
right
I
off the top? It was quite quick.
Okay. So Temple, out of their last 5 games, their only loss was against Houston. That was their last game where they lost 65-81. And Houston was on a mission that game to beat the shit out of Temple because Temple had beat Houston at home 56-55, which was a huge upset. And then they followed it up beating South Florida and UCF. So they didn't choke right after their big win or whatever. Temple is just one of those teams that's trending in the right direction, whereas SMU on every category is trending down. This SMU team it's broken from top to bottom. And I think Temple is trying to put something together to prove, they can fight for a top spot in this conference still. So I like Temple here, just on the pure fact that these teams are trending in complete opposite directions. So yeah, I like Temple.
You got it locked in. I'm going to copy and paste a couple things here. Robert Franklin also on IUPUI. Cashman 19 asking about the Super Bowl squares. We have a meeting here in an hour and 18 minutes. So that will be discussed right off the hop. So we'll discuss that. DC Capper, I've copied and pasted your action. I'll give you the New Hampshire splits. But first, let's talk about the final spot on Daby Cab's card. And he wanted to add Syracuse, so we want to do that after this. But here, for this spot, you like Memphis here. Memphis at South Florida. There's been no move towards Memphis at Bet Online, or 5-cent move, but it did go down to 5 immediately, and it's back at 6. At Pinnacle, there is a move towards Memphis. They opened up at 5.5, and they're now at 6.5. Total-wise here for this one, opening up at 153.5 and it's gone all the way up to 157. It actually went up to 158.5 and has dropped a little bit. And then cash wise here for the Memphis spot, we have 2,369 tickets in, and just 34% of the tickets are on South Florida, but 47% of the cash, 67% of tickets and 83% of cash on the over. And we just saw it skyrocket. Take it away for us, Daby Cab, your thoughts and why you're on Memphis.
This is still a big game for Memphis, and we're starting to get into spots where you got to look at the situation, like what teams are playing for. This Memphis team is 17-6 overall, 7-3 in the ACC. They had that overtime loss. I think it was an overtime loss, but they lost to Tulane in their last game, 89-90. Yeah, it was an overtime game. Look, this Memphis team, one of my favorite times to bet them is when everybody gets off the train, and everybody's off this train right now. People get really high on this team, and I don't know where it comes from. Maybe Penny Hardaway. I don't know what it is, but they get too high on this team. And this year I've had some success betting them in the right situation. I think this is a good spot. I know South Florida kept the game close last time they played, but this is just a spot where I see Memphis as being the better team. South Florida size-wise does match up a little bit better against Memphis than other teams. But I think that Memphis comes out aggressive, knowing how close the last game was. And even with their record, they're still only 2 games behind Houston for first place in the conference, which is not that many games. And, they might be realistic knowing that they're not going to beat Houston, but they want to be right there at number 2. It's a big game for Memphis, and I like them to be up early. It might be close coming down. I could see maybe Tulane getting a backdoor cover or something like that. A last-second 3 that doesn't matter. I just said Tulane, excuse me, South Florida. But I like Memphis to be up early, at least by 4 or 5 points. So I got Memphis in the first half.
You have Creighton first half -1.5, -110. Memphis first half -3, -118. Temple first half -0.5, -112. And Syracuse -3, full game at -110. Most books are hanging the 3.5. Pinnacle still hanging the 3. Excellent job, Daby Cab, my man. You will be starring in our NCAA Net Profits show on Friday. You have your live bet stream alongside razor sharp picks on Friday night, and you are the star of our NCAA Pub Hub on Saturday mornings. Any last words for the Cappers supporting the show, my man? And do follow Daby Cab on Twitter at Daby Cab. Take it away.
Man, the chat, we always say it, but fuck, man, you guys are the reason we're here. Without you guys, we're not doing shit. So thank you guys in the chat. I appreciate all the knowledge you guys sharing your action with us, because we know you work hard on those bets. We work hard on them. We know you work hard on them. So thank you guys. Let's get some fucking money today, man. Let's get it. And if you can come to San Antonio, get there. We want you guys at Pubapalooza. We got a lot to do. We got a lot of bets to make. We got fights to watch. We got infused dinners to eat. We got weed to smoke. We got beer to drink. We got shots to take. I mean, it's going to be endless. It's going to be a good time. Yeah, there it is right there. Golf to play, poker to play. Since Razor's not there, Nate's going to be my tournament in the cornhole, my partner in the cornhole tournament. So I got Nate for that, so I can announce that now. Bring it, motherfuckers. Razor, you better not change your mind. As much as you there, I need Nate on my team.
I love it. I love it. There he is, Daby Cab, our star of college basketball content here. Von Polo says, now I'm about to go enjoy my birthday. DC says, what was the score of the last Memphis South Florida game? Will take me a second to pull it up. It wasn't one of the games that we had planned on breaking down. So let me just grab it here and get you that information. And then we will put a bow on this. In NBA here, let me see if I can get this for you here. The last game between Memphis and South Florida was coming up here. They're not going to have to go into Memphis's games here. The last game against South Florida was a 93-86 win at home over South Florida, 93-86. Everybody give love to our Von Polo celebrating his birthday today. And we'll do a fine. I'm not moving on NHL, man. I don't find anything appealing. I got enough action here with basketball, so I'm staying off. But I do expect to get hot in NHL. We have a huge card tomorrow. LJ's on the under 222 in Detroit, Cleveland. I'm going to be on the Hornets and the under in Charlotte, Washington, but I do need – I'm going to be on it. I'm going to be on it. But I would like to double-check some of the injury issues. I plan on being on the 76ers as well. Astute Chaos gave us that first half over 115.5 in Philly, Boston. LJ's on the under 223.5 in Indiana, Miami. I'm joining him. Sammy Culmer's on the Pacers +7. LJ's on the Raptors first quarter -3.5, and I have interest in Raptors first half team total under 62.5. I know it goes against a lot of what we've been doing against the Spurs. You're going up against the Spurs, you take the team total over who's ever playing them, but I just feel like it could be a bad spot for the Raptors. LJ's on the Sacramento Kings, Houston Rockets first quarter under 62. He's on Utah first half -2.5. He's on first quarter over 56.5 in Dallas Clippers, and he's on the Blazers Warriors first half over and full game over. And I want to fade the Warriors first quarter team total right now. I'd like to see them, after breaking or being one off a franchise record without Steph Curry and threes. Let's see you do that on the road. But I'm going to have to work up some confidence before I hammer that. So that is our show for today. Don't forget, we have World Baseball content coming fast and furious from our Jose Bouquet. Jose, I know we didn't talk before, but do you want to let the Lobaggers know what your World Baseball schedule is and what they can look forward to?
Sure. Why not? Well, I'll tell you. On Friday, I have a lovely interview with my guy, Daniel Alvarez Montes. He's a World Baseball, I wouldn't say a World Baseball Classic. He covers the Marlins as his day job. He's kind of the go-to guy when it comes to Latin American baseball, Venezuelan baseball. And fun fact, he's going to be literally the first Venezuelan person that I talk to in English in my life. So that'll be a whole lot of fun. I've got a lot of questions for him. Then I'll talk to my guy, Yakuyu Cosmopolitan on Twitter. He's a Japanese baseball expert as well. And obviously, you guys know I'm a big Japanese baseball guy. This Baseball World Classic, I'll be rooting for them heavy. I've got futures on them. I keep telling everyone that I know to bet on them. I'm doing my Baseball World Classic research, as many people know, and I was going through their pitching staff. It's just disgusting. It's gross. So that we'll do that on, I think it was Friday. No, it's going to be Saturday night. It'll be a late night recording. I might go live for the recording for you night owls out there, but it'll be up there Sunday morning for everyone because he's in Japan and there's a time difference thing. So there you go. There's a fun fact there. And then lastly, I've got my guy, Sean Sprouting. You guys probably know him on Twitter just because you've seen him put out those roster graphics showing everyone who's on the teams, et cetera, et cetera. So we'll talk to him as well. That'll be around the 21st, 22nd, I believe. So it'll be 3 weeks, basically 2 weeks of content coming up for World Baseball Classic. Be talking about them live during those days. I believe the first games are March 8th. So that'll be a whole lot of fun. And as many people know, I'll be boots on the ground reporting in Miami. Credentialed or not, I'll be there with my fellow Venezuelans. It's going to be a whole lot of fun. I've already got my ridiculous outfits planned. It's going to be fun.
That's exciting. And so first up, though, is Friday.
Yes, Friday, 1 p.m. My time. So it'll be 2 p.m. Eastern. It will be me and Daniel talking Venezuelan baseball, and that'll be the Miami group, the group that really everyone cares about. You know, there's 3 groups that matter, and I wouldn't even say that. I would say 2 groups that matter. The Miami group with Venezuela, Puerto Rico, the Dominican Republic, and then Arizona has the U.S., Canada, Mexico. I'll be talking with Sean about U.S., Canada, Mexico there in Arizona, and Daniel will be a good talk about with all the Latin American countries.
And we will have a playlist that's just World Baseball Classic on our homepage, right?
Sure.
Cool. Okay, cool. So we'll make sure that we have that all set up. Brian Watson, no hockey picks, unfortunately. No hockey picks. Turnsy, it was I'd be interested to hear what you're doing with Wild Stars. I'll be more interested, Turnsy, when you get your plane ticket to San Antonio.
Yeah, you rat bastard. Same thing with Dennis Garcia, by the way. You can't fucking hide in the shadows forever, DG. I want to see that fucking sprinter bod you've got over there. Yeah, if you don't come, DG, my feelings are going to be hurt, and I'm going to refer to you only as a rat from now on. So you better. And turns I will pick you up at the airport.
Of course. And you can stay here with Gokster and I the night before we get to the Toronto airport, Turnsy. So you'll be taken care of. Are you going to
extend the same offer to DG?
Of course, but DG lives close. He's in Mississauga. He's not far from here, man. He lives right beside the airport.
Oh, how nice!
Yeah. That is our show for today. Jose, stay up here for a second. It's nice to have you back on screen. We've missed you. Thank you to everybody for supporting the show. Turnsy, DC Capper, Brian Watson, Robert Franklin, Jarek White, Leonard Porsche Jr., Nunya, Fap Win, giving us Australian Racing Day, Parkenham Race 8. Eagle Saurus, odds 13-1. Blinkers go on. Fat win in the house. Von Polo, happy birthday. Tori Coker, Troy Torrance, Tongue Tied. Great group. Lee Davis, Astute Chaos, Jason Falk, Smoke and Mirrors. Thank you guys. Cashman 19, Smith Legacy. Thank you all so much for your support. Jose, could you please leche us into the future, my friend?
Of course. As always, tune into all the Pub Sports Radio stuff we've got today. Today's Wednesday, so it's a full day. You know, we've got Betting with the Bag, obviously. We just had it. Watched the replay. We've got our friends at Net Profit. Sharpie and Big Show always up to something. Shout out to them as well. So shout out to all our guys. And don't forget the NBA. And fuck you, LeBron, you fucking egomaniac. Fucking loser, dude. What a fucking yahoo that guy is. Well, could you imagine what an egomaniac? They just stop the game for 40 minutes to fucking rub and tug LeBron for fucking the whole time. What a loser. Not even the best player of all time. Fucking leche los bookmakers. Fuck you, LeBron.